stories making headlines from the various regions of Ghana. The head teacher of Tove RC Basic School in the Akachi South municipality of the Volta region, Seville Zewonu, has appealed to the government, especially the school feeding secretariat, to restore the school feeding program in the school. According to him, the cancellation of the program has significantly reduced enrollment, noting that some children depend on the one hot meal provided in the school to sustain them throughout the day. He therefore stressed the need for the feeding program to be reinstated.
In the school around 2018, but 2019, 2020, when COVID-19 came in, schools were breakdown, so the school feeding program was not going on. So after schools were brought back in 2021, the caterer could not return to continue with the program again. So most of the students depend on this one square meal so that they can sustain them at least till we close. So right now you will see that some of them, when they come to school, they don't even bring anything. They don't even come to school, they don't even eat. So formerly, when the school feeding program was here, the enrollment of the school was high. But now that the program has collapsed, it has reduced the enrollment of the school.
Of Parliament for the Tove electoral area, Thomas Atidefe, also added his voice, stating that the school feeding program is a key factor in attracting and retaining pupils in the school. Hence, the need for its restoration.
It is one of the focal points that brings children to the school. One of the focal points that makes students or pupils to stay in the school and focus on their studies, because they know very well that when they come to school, they are going to be fed. If nothing at all, they will get something to eat. So once they will get something to eat, they will prepare very early from home and come to school and focus on their studies in the school. So now that the program has been cancelled completely from the school, it is driving away, the pupils from the school.
In a related development, the Atidefe Foundation has donated sets of jerseys and footballs to Yalevi RC Basic School and Tove RC Basic School to support sports development and promote extracurricular activities. Thomas Atidefe is the founder of the Atidefe Foundation. The sports master, Hadeta Bright, expressed appreciation for the gesture, noting that it will go a long way to improve football activities in the schools.
We have accepted the JC and the football, and we make sure we use them successfully. And it will be my hope that with this JC, any match that we play will be a winner. Definitely bring a change, because since it's most of the JC we have, there is old JC, and this one is new. It will motivate the children to bring in a good spirit.
Still in the Volta region, the South Tongue District Executive, Victoria Jeklo, has advised business owners, especially store operators, to consider insuring their businesses. According to her, insurance coverage will help business owners recover losses whenever disasters occur. She also urged insurance companies to extend their outreach to the districts and educate business owners on the importance of insuring their enterprises. She made these remarks during the donation of relief items to victims of a recent fire disaster in Sogakope.
A month ago, we had this fire incident involving the 3 shops. So when I first came into contact with them, I asked, have you insured the shop? They said no. So I said, oh, that is very bad, because if you are in business, you must make sure that you take preventive measures. And one of them is to insure, because you don't know when this type of disaster will happen. So I am just advising them that from now onwards, they are rebuilding the shop. They should make sure they insure the shop, so that when these things of this nature happen, at least the insurance companies will come in to support them, or even take full responsibility of whatever is in their possession.
For details of these stories and more, kindly log on to MetroTVOnline.com. Follow us on all socials at Metro TV Ghana. My name is Gota Lois Achifekwaku, and this is from the region.
tomorrow, the 25th of March, is the UN's International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery in the transatlantic slave trade. The Ghanaian government's resolution declaring the transatlantic slave trade as a crime against humanity, backed by the African Union, CARICOM and a growing global coalition, will be debated. Given our nation's central role in the trafficking and enslavement of African peoples, a vote against would be a betrayal of every life it consumed. This House has never debated this. How can we be certain that our UN vote reflects the will of this Parliament and, more importantly, the will of this country? Madam Deputy Speaker, how can we ensure decisions of this magnitude taken in our name receive the democratic consideration they deserve before a vote is cast?
Can I thank the Honourable Lady for her point of order? As she will know, the government conducts diplomatic relations in the United Nations under Crown prerogative. Nevertheless, she has placed her concerns on the record and the front bench will have heard them. Of course, as this House has not debated the issue, she might do well to apply for a backbench business debate or alternatively to raise it in Westminster Hall or indeed with the Leader of the House at Business Questions.
Truth begins with language, with the power that words hold to shape consciousness and to shift perspectives to propel an action or other. There's no such thing as a slave. There were human beings who were trafficked and then enslaved by people who believed they could own those human beings as chattels, as their personal property. The entire transatlantic slave trade was designed to deny African people their humanity. And that denial was premised on a racial hierarchy with no basis in fact or science, a racial hierarchy that deemed whiteness superior and blackness inferior. So when discussing slavery and its resulting institutions and practices, we must always start by reclaiming racial equality, the dignity of Africans, the humanity of our ancestors who were enslaved, and as a matter of course, our own humanity. I speak these words today not only for Ghana, but also in solidarity with the rest of Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, and the wider diaspora, and indeed all people of good conscience throughout the world. This resolution is a pathway to healing and reparative justice. This resolution is a safeguard against forgetting. We stand united as Africans, whether on the continent or any part of the world, and link up with people of conscience around the world to seek truth and justice and restore the dignity and humanity of victims of the slave trade. This is a resolution of destiny. And I hope all of you will vote tomorrow to establish truth so that together we can pass this historic resolution and finally acknowledge the full horrors of these transgressions against humanity of the approximately 15 million human beings who were enslaved.
University bia yema o doctor abra wo da so ye o mampanyo anka wo de awie na kọ nom ka say oh ye hwe wadwuma wo ya ade sei enti ye pese wo ba na ebo aba so na ma honorary doctorate so akọ university bia yema o doctor abra wo da so ye o mampanyo anka wo de awie na kọ nom ka say oh ye hwe wadwuma wo ya ade sei enti ye pese wo ba na ebo aba so honorary doctorate.
Charge ahodoɔ for enyuma kɛse ɛwɔ Ghana. Mmara se saban ɛfa wo bi adwuma sɛ wɔn medi sɛ adwuma ne ma ɔman a aban ma obi contract ho a yɛma mu na obi biara a ɔwɔ nimdeɛ na ɔwɔ capacity so obetumi ayɛ sɛ adwuma no we should give that person the opportunity to compete. Ti ɛfrɛ bi competitive tendering ma ho kwan na obi amɛpre adwuma ni bi. The obetumi aye adwuma ni yie a ɔman no benya so mfasoɔ abra ɔman no bɛbɔ kakakra bi ne de ama no but wohwɛ de ɛkɔ so wɔ bawomia ne ɔmampanya Kufuor amammo yi mu a yɛwɔ contrast akɛseɛ bebree a aban yi de ma bawomia nuanom a yɛmma ho kwan sɛ obi amɛpiri bi yɛsi peg aso yɛde sika toto so a ɔman no hwere sika titiri di a you will weep for Ghana as we move along.
Government is broke, The people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are two types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now. Government is broke. The people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are two types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
All right. Good morning and welcome to the show. Good morning, Ghana. This is the show is also live on 94.1 FM. My name is Aldo Moore. It is always a pleasure to come your way. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning, and this is the day the Lord has made. Indeed, we're glad in it. I want to say a big thanks to the Almighty Allah for making it possible for us to return here to join the nation's conversation on the big issues that are making the rounds in our dear country, Ghana. My guest are seated. I'll be introducing them shortly, but before I do that, let's look at what the newspapers and some of the local online portals are reporting this morning. So I'll start with the Daily Graphic. It says Controller partners banks to develop a digital payment platform. Slavery criminal. President Mahama declares that UN tables motion for reparation voting today. Stanbic Bank launches Obasima to finance women's businesses. There's also only 44% of big push projects awarded through sole sourcing, according to Roads Minister. There's Damai Mines Ministry commits to competitive bidding to select investor. Controller partners banks to develop digital payment platform. The Ghanaian Times this morning is reporting that no excuse for slave trade, President Mahama tells United Nations. And there's also Damai Mine, Lands Ministry open to competitive bidding process, according to the minister. The Daily Guide, Mahama loses Lincoln honorary degree over LGBTQ bill. That's quite unfortunate, isn't it? We're supposed to be the people who have decided to strip the president of this are supposed to be people who believe in freedom of speech and freedom of expression of opinion. So something doesn't add up. I think there's some inconsistency that we need to deal with. Anyway, NDC reversing economic gains, according to MPP. Majority-minority clash over sole source road contracts. EU, Ghana signed security partnership. There's also MPA extortion trial. 2 accused cut deals as OSP witnesses. The New Crusading Guide, Adjoasafo advocates urgent mental health funding, donates to Pantine Hospital, pledges ward renovation. Minority demands transparency in big push contracts. The Damai Challenge, another perspective. 1 year of state capture, how Ibrahim Mahama is running Ghana's mineral sector, and national caution to President Mahama. Government defends big push as lawful and transparent, dismisses sole sourcing claims. Iwadakun's 21,000-acre agric model turns heads as Mahama visits Nobi Mega Farm powerhouse. The Inside, Damai Mine, the Lands Minister commits the competitive bidding process to secure credible investor and operator for national development. Lands and Mines Watch, Ghana praises Minister over Damai Mine lease process. Anger over bogus Prestia mine takeover has group demands investigations amid job losses, broken promises. Government dismisses sole sourcing claims, defends big push as lawful and transparent. Idrifitul message, Adentan Chief Imam sounds alarm over flooding, urges moral renewal and accountability. The Herald says that the Yoko accused of abuse of power in $17 million gold scandal. There's minority drugs deputy chief of staff before OSP, Traj, and CID. There's controversy deepens over bogus Prestia mine takeover. Youth group bears teeth. Prosecution fumbles in Sami Jemfi's in-law murder. And there's Lincoln University blows hot and cold on Mohammed's honorary doctorate degree. The Ghanaian publisher says court clears Sesiedem, slams Yoko's unlawful conduct. There's licensure U-turn, NDC, a walking contradiction according to Apenyo marking. Minority turns heat on Big Push deals, and Wadako's Nobi Farms driving high-tech rice production. The Accra Times, Mahama storms UN on transatlantic slave trade, criticizes slave trade as dehumanizing. There's also a call for stronger parliamentary institutions. Ayariga Apenyo marking concur. Unimac boss commends government for 400-bed capacity hostel support. Sole sourcing claims, Roads Minister says record straight. Boost for Black Stars, Ibrahim Mahama doles out $5 million. Ayariga supports 244 students. They enjoy financial assistance. The Custodian, Mahama visit Iwada Kun's Nobi Agriculture. There's also Bamia directs minority to engage more with stakeholders upon Kroma. Minority blows alarm on 50 billion cedis big push contracts. Demand full details of contractors and unit cost per kilometer. Ordineho urges government to open neglected Akumadan University. And this PBL marks Ghana Month with pride and patriotism. Daily Post, first lead in Washington for fostering the Future Together Summit. Damai Mine, Lands Minister Amakufibua commits the competitive bidding process. President Mahama leads wreath-laying ceremony in honor of enslaved Africans. Transatlantic slave trade was designed to deny Africans their humanity, according to President Mahama. Collective safety of West African countries rests on cooperation and shared responsibility, says Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim. And then you also have the Economy Times. The Economy Times this morning is reporting that Cocoa Board shadow contracts inside the 32 billion cedis debt crisis and the Olam PBC connection. And this one is part one. Ghana's gold exports expand sharply. Import bills shrinks first 2 months of 2026 as compared to 2025. And there's Burkina Tomatoes, industry leaders rally for national self-sufficiency. Let's now go and look at what the local online portals are reporting this morning. So that's Major Online this morning says, big push, Kwame Abuja reveals major road projects hit 50% completion. And there's also the transatlantic slave trade was designed to deny Africans their humanity, according to Mahama. U.S. is normalizing the erasure of black history, says Mahama in New York. Roads Minister clarifies big push, says 54 new projects, 23 inherited contracts. City Newsroom says World Bank commits $75 million to restore Ghana's cocoa farms. And there's also, we're working to clear 32 million euros debt to UK, 32 million pounds debt to UK University Deputy High Commissioner. There's MTN Ghana backs phased digital SIM re-registration drive. Mahama US normalizing the erasure. No cost to taxpayers. Yes, he was here on the Good Morning Ghana program, and he mentioned same. Now, if you go to Metro TV Online, your favorite, my favorite Metro TV Online, as Lordina Mahama attends Global, a summit on child digital safety in Washington. There's K2 North MP Edem Agbana supports 400 tertiary students. Congrats, Edem. Congrats. Lands Minister begins Upper East mining tour. Cost concerns and lack of stakeholder engagement dominate SIM re-registration debate. And there's also a minister, nor the coach, on Andre Ayew's World Cup return, according to Andre. This morning is reporting that tension in UK Parliament over Ghana's slavery as crime against humanity UN motion. And there's Akosa Sewa arrives in Ghana ahead of late Lumba's celebration of life. And Ras Mubarak was the former MP for the Komongo constituency and also a former head of the National Youth Authority. He's saying that the unforgotten Holocausts is an interesting article. You may want to check that out. There's tomato crisis, $20 million lifeline secured to tackle looming problem. And Mo Salah to exit Liverpool. That's after what? After 9 years of prolific scoring at Liverpool? Well, congratulations, Mo Salah. I'm not a Liverpool supporter. I'm a Chelsea supporter. Yes, we're going through some trying and difficult times, but yes, that's where commitment matters, when what you're committed to is going through some challenges. Anyway, so that's it for the newspaper and the online portals. Please stay with us. This is Good Morning Ghana.
Start your kids' day the right way, filled with confidence to take on any challenge. Pepsodent Kids contains the right amount of fluoride and sugar acid protection to care for their developing gums and teeth. Grab either orange or strawberry so they brush with the sweet flavor they love morning and evening. Pepsodent Kids, giving your children a bright smile for a brighter future.
March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Have you attained 45 years and older? Notice blood in your stool, a family history of cancer? Then don't wait to have a colonoscopy. Early detection of cancer and effective treatment save lives.
There are weak points in the development and spread of cancers of the large bowel that we have control over to stop, to reduce the incidence and deaths from these cancers. Achieving this success depends on you and me. We are fully prepared. What about you?
Visit Mintuba Hospital and Coloproctology Center today or call us. Mintuba Hospital, First Ghana Colorectal Center, in to serve a peculiar health need.
Finding the ideal property shouldn't be a daunting task. At MNC Properties, we believe everyone deserves a place to call home. That's why we specialize in providing affordable housing options under our flagship project, Fresh Property Joy, specifically designed for low and medium income earners. Our range of customizable homes includes 2 and 3 bedroom standard and executive options, all meticulously crafted using innovative interlocking brick technology. We understand the importance of simplicity and convenience in the acquisition process. That's why we have designed our procedures to be straightforward and hassle-free, offering flexible payment options tailored to your individual needs. In addition to our affordable homes, we proudly offer litigation-free lands for sale in vibrant and upscale communities that present the perfect opportunity to build your dream home. We are committed to making affordable housing a reality, providing you with the joy of owning a home that meets your budgets and aspirations. Whether you're looking to buy, rent, or invest, we've got you covered. Our service team is ready to assist you on 030-255-1917. MNC Properties, choice of class.
Brush, 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 brush your teeth. Brush, 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 2 times a day. Brush with Kel-Kit.
Hello, my friends. My name is Kel-Kit Toothpaste.
Wow.
I was made to be gentle on your gum but protected I will protect your teeth from cavity, make your teeth whiter, stronger, keep your mouth fresh all day. And best of all, I'm strawberry flavored. So put on a smile and try me.
That's amazing.
Just try me. That's my job.
If you say so, jump on my brush. Makes your teeth stronger, chicky whiter, chicky stronger. Yay! You did it!
I'm glad you like your new toothpaste. Don't forget to brush both day and night.
Kel Kids, happy smile.
Yes, next. Hey, Nadia Benson, Asamo.
Me didn't tum. Mr. Friend Calico, just call me cockroach. Now, Mr. Friend me once now. Hey, that's on you. Improve car. Yeah. Captain was key to double the accent. Me did it, Sasso spray. Mr. Friend is Sasso quell. Yeah, go to my Sasso.
Come tum preko.
Hey, Unia, new release in Yana. Kaya gum.
A bitino was me new release. Me can access fit a muhono. And na Geopolitical Garages Limited. Aquafabe CSA mana aye nitia. Obiasa ya kamunu.
Accident kanuna. Geopolitical Garages Limited. Amana se jinani naso sano.
Mesi wo. Womwa kofa broni fita engineer efra brochiraba. And wa check cars no. Na wa hunu baby a fort to crow and ho spare parts so what this is. Afenesi road. And so a whole charges ka krabio.
Geopolitical Garages Limited.
Wo ye general servicing. Ebili engine overhauling, engine tuning, oven spraying, general electrical works, air condition installation work, BMU, upholstery, gearbox, make a day.
Geopolitical Garages Limited.
Apart from sir, car that wotimi ato, and now our Toma one was higher importation of cars and it was spare parts. If I butchereba, Wokoto Kamawa, a free.
Hey, also what you calling?
Geopolitical Garages Limited. Our La Paz Malam Road. After Bayard traffic light, wow. Bibiania for 0206. 48 1793 and now 0542 96 1111. Website geopoliticalghana.com.
Geopolitical Garages Limited.
Hey, kaya wo bia benyane.
Geopolitical Garages Limited.
Your car beauty and the power boosters.
In my line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kel Charcoal toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
With the tiring nature of my job, we spend several hours under the scorching sun. To keep our teeth white and our breath fresh all the time, we use none other than Kel Charcoal toothpaste. Kel Charcoal toothpaste. You're on a Kessie and in a kit one.
Samayo Kendini, a who be here, Semetra Sapapadia to a mammy man for Kel Charcoal's natural ingredients, and a bomb is so buying, a man is swing, and a sense of Mama Hotter so a will beg you.
Kel Charcoal toothpaste. Choose Kel Charcoal toothpaste for anti-cavity, whiter teeth, and fresher breath all day. Available in 80 gram and 150 gram. Grab yours today.
Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
When nations rise, it begins with bold conversations. When economies grow, it is driven by partnership. This April, Ghana's business and policy leaders converge at the Pro Business Forum 2026, the nation's premier platform for investment, enterprise, and economic transformation, with special guest of honor, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, joining captains of industry, financial institutions, investors, and entrepreneurs.
The Pro Business Forum is more than just an event. It is a call to action. And so let us work together to build a Ghana that is competitive, productive, and inclusive, and a Ghana that creates opportunities for all.
Come, let's engage in high-level dialogue, explore industry exhibitions, build powerful networks, and unlock real opportunities from finance and insurance to manufacturing, agribusiness, SMEs, and innovation. This is where it all happens. from the 3rd to the 5th of April 2026 at the Kwewu Convention Center in Praeso Hills. Go to www.kwewubusinessforum.com and register now. To register for exhibitions, call 059 555 5885 or 059 555 5995. Kwewu Business Forum. Connect, promote, grow.
All right, you're watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. My name is Aldo Moro, and my guests are seated. For us to proceed with the newspaper review, and Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr. is former managing editor of the Insight newspaper and also a veteran and seasoned journalist. Kwesi, good morning. It's always good to see you. Thank you very much for making time to join us. And also joining us is a man who the other day I did an introduction. He said no, he wants me to do it in a different way, or call it the right way. So today I'm going to read it. I'm not going to say it off the cuff. He's the executive director of Instep PR. I hope I got that correctly, which is INST.
Why the PR?
Okay, so Instep.
Instep, yeah.
Okay. And he's a communications member of the New Patriotic Party, but he's also a former flag bearer aspirant of the New Patriotic Party. That's Kojo Nsafwa Poku. He's with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for
That's
joining us.
That's much better than the aid that you guys like.
Yes. We didn't want you to come after us this morning, so we had to do the official thing.
Those things are not titles.
Yes. Executive Director of INSTP. That's Instep. For short. Why aren't you in Fugu?
Why? I did that Fugu once, and I went on the program, and I was the only one wearing it.
Really?
Yes.
On a Wednesday?
On a Wednesday, yes. Even the NDC guys that came, they didn't wear the Fugu.
They didn't wear Fugu?
I didn't wear the Fugu. And that was the second week when it was introduced. I did the Fugu. And I realized that I was the only one.
I mean, it's an admonition.
Because I have plenty.
People are
you know, I have, because I've been touring with Doctor to the North. And let me say good morning to Dr. Baumia if he's watching. We've been touring the North, and, a lot of people dash. And some of them give me.
Was it yesterday? He went to the North yesterday?
No, I'm just saying in the past, when we've been touring the North, people would dash you. I have plenty to go at home.
Oh, okay.
I wore a couple to a show, like I said, and nobody wore it, so I stopped.
Why? Well, you're not
if your own government comes out with something and you are not patronizing it, the NDC man that came on the show,
that's
they
not
didn't wear.
That's not a good reason.
Please, what is that?
Show the way.
I'm showing the way. I did show the way, but nobody actually.
Yeah, show the way by being consistent.
Next time I'll be
instead
consistent.
of allowing yourself to be discouraged by what others are not doing rightly.
Okay.
This one there, I disagree with you small.
Well, that's cool, but
respectfully, sir.
That's fine. It's not a problem at all if you disagree. But like I said, I would. I'll do well if I happen to be. I happen to be on the show on Wednesday and wear it. I'll start.
Please do. We beg you. For me, it's the economics of it.
I have all the variations. I have the big one that you have to wear like 3 under.
Hey,
I have those ones as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And all these ones are gifts. You are gifted.
Yeah, they are gifts. The people from the Dambai area also do Fugu as well.
Yeah, they do.
So my guys from Dambai, when they are coming from the Karachi area, will bring me Fugu. And my friends from the north will also bring me Fugu. So I have plenty of them.
Yeah. I see. I was gifted this one by a gentleman called Fugu Hine.
Okay.
Yes, Fugu Hine, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm told I look good.
Yeah, it's nice colors.
Uncle Kwesi, I've never seen you wear Fugu before. As in me. I've never seen you wear Fugu before.
Okay.
answer.
I said, okay.
Yeah.
I said, I have nothing more to say.
Because
but it's a good
wear
idea.
or what I do not wear,
yes,
it's not an issue for public discussion.
That's true. That's true. That's true. But it's a good initiative, right? I mean, the president encouraging us to wear fugu on Wednesdays.
Well, I think the initiative came from Abla
Gomashi.
Yeah. The Minister for Tourism.
Yeah,
so
and Creative Arts.
She initiated this. And it's gone very, very far.
Yeah.
You understand? I mean, I've traveled around places in Africa and outside Africa. And when people hear that you're a Ghanaian, the first thing they ask is whether you can give them a fugu.
Okay.
You know, I was in Addis Ababa. Somebody walks up to me and says, "Do you have fugu for sale?" And so on.
Wow.
So the impact has been good. You know, I was in Johannesburg. There was a lot of clamor for fugu and so on. Big impact outside. Internally, those who make fugu claim that business has become very good. You know, they've had a lot of clients and so on. The fugu business is thriving.
Right.
Now, what is important is that this is not the first time this country is promoting fugu.
Yeah.
I mean, fugu had its biggest boost on March 6, 1957, when Nkrumah, N.A. Welbeck, you know, Kisley Hayford, you know, Krobo Duse and all of them, all the 6 of them, actually appeared on the podium in fugu to declare Ghana's national independence. Right. And it is significant the type of fugu they wore. It had a message. It's the working class fugu, it's not the royal fugu and so on.
Yeah.
So as I was growing up, many of our leaders started wearing fugu. And it came to a point where they were actually wearing fugu with tie, neckties.
Really?
Yes. They had long sleeve white shirts.
Like.
When I wear mine, I wear with a necktie.
Yeah.
Really?
A shirt, necktie, and a fugu on top.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that became a big fashion, and it spread across, you know, the world. And then we lost that. We've come back to that, and I think it's a good thing we've come back to that. Our clothing is not inferior to any other clothing anywhere in the world,
right.
You know, and I think it's important that we look like who we are meant to look. Look, our clothing is designed for our climate.
Yeah.
There are so many people who, when they dress up in the morning, they definitely need to sit in air-conditioned cars. Because without air-conditioned cars, they can't function.
Right.
The sweating and all of that, you know. And then when they move out of the air-conditioned cars, they have to get into air-conditioned offices and so on because of just the way they dress. Now, that's the biggest signal that dressing may not be appropriate. You know, dressing should allow you to blend into your natural environment.
Right.
And so I think it's a good thing. It's not just fugu. We should be wearing other things which are interesting, you know. I'm happy that the rules in our parliament have changed significantly. Remember the problem that Dr. Pakwesi Indom had when he wore, you know, one of these batiks to parliament and had to be driven out. It's all over now. Now you can wear what Pakwesi Indom wore to parliament. I think these are good signs, you know.
A challenge, I think, has been the sustainability. I mean, for some reason, we start all these very fantastic initiatives, but it fizzles out with time. I don't know if it's a change of regime or I don't get it. You remember
it's not about change of regime. I mean, look, what we wear, how we look, and so on. It's influenced by so many factors.
Right.
And the process of acculturation happens every minute, every second, every day, and
Right.
so on. So people like to look different. You know, I mean, there's this talk about Gen Z, and so people don't want to. 20-year-old people don't want to look like 70-year-old men.
True.
And so on. That's natural.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is why the designers have to incorporate modern trends into what they do, and so on. The fugu doesn't have to look like this all the time.
Right.
And I'm so happy that a designer like Maoli Okudato is doing wonders with the fugu motif.
Right.
You know, he's not using these fabrics anymore. He's using other fabrics. He's introducing all kinds of things into the fugu motif. And it's making the fugu more attractive to younger people and so on. So that's a tax of our designers. It's a tax you have to imagine.
Yeah.
You have to dream.
Right.
You have to live with the times.
But isn't where the problem comes in? When we now dilute the native and the cultural nature of what it is. Because if we now, kente has been kente over the years.
Yeah.
The minute the Chinese started bringing material kente, it was no longer, it's not kente, you can't call it kente. I think fugu is originality, and what people are craving for is the cultural fugu. If we start diluting it with other westernized or innovative ways, it stops being the cultural fugu. So that is where, I know there are different types of fugu.
True.
Like I said, I've seen the Dambai one, and I'm told there are other ones from the Yendi area, and there are different types. I think the problem will be if we start also diluting it with
It's
fashion.
not about dilution at all, my brother. It's not about dilution at all. Culture is dynamic.
It shouldn't be.
Culture has
Culture
always
becomes no,
been
it shouldn't. No,
dynamic.
it's not. I would disagree. If culture becomes dynamic, then it's not culture. I mean, that is where you go to Ashanti. There are things in the palace that dates back 400 years. It can't be dynamic. Culture is culture.
What you see in the palace that dates back 400 years has been impacted by the rigors of dynamism. And let me explain to you. Why do you think that Bonre Kente is different from the Ebe Kente? It's the dynamics. Why do you think that the Bolga Fugu is different from the Fugu in Damango and so on? It's the dynamics. Nothing is static. Everything is in motion, including culture and so on. Okay? So there's the need for adaptability. I mean, the lifestyles we had 20 years ago is substantially different from the lifestyles we have now.
I agree.
When I was a kid, how many times a year did you eat rice?
Oh no, but
It was very, occasionally.
Yes.
Christmas.
But that's not culture, though.
But who told you that?
That's not culture. That was poverty.
It's not
That-
poverty.
not everybody. Oh, some people ate rice every day.
My
I mean,
brother.
in the past when some
brother,
people were
take
eating
your
rice.
time. Take your time. The food we eat is part of our cultural expression.
Not
And the
necessarily.
reason why we no longer, we now eat rice more often and so on, is because of the development of the working class family. You understand?
But that's not culture. That's the division I want us to
why
make.
is that not
Our
culture?
culture is, we know what our culture is, and we know what our living standards are. Living standards has improved. It doesn't mean our culture
No, I'm not
has
talking-
changed.
No.
Because the eating of rice, which is the example you gave.
Master,
in
I'm
some-
not talking about improvement in living standards.
Yeah, but that's
not
what
I'm
but that's
talking
what
about.
rice and chicken is. Before we couldn't afford it.
Who told you?
Because I grew up in Fantini Town, right?
If you would allow me to
okay,
make my
finish.
point,
Okay, go on.
and then you can come in.
Okay,
You
go on.
understand? But I'm saying that the food we eat and how we eat it is part of our culture. You cannot deny that.
That's true.
And I'm saying that eating rice and chicken is not an improvement on eating kontombre and yam. It is not, cannot be an improvement. Has nothing to do with our living standards and so on. In fact, what is occasioning that is that rice is easier to cook. And I'm a cook. I know what I'm talking about. Rice is much, much easier to cook and to preserve than some of our local dishes. So if you live in a family where both father and mother have to leave the house at 5 a.m. and return at 8 a.m.,
Yeah.
your ability to eat fufu and abenkwai every day is limited.
It depends,
Just like
what,
that
it depends
dynamic.
what house you lived in. The house I lived in, there were fufu pounded every morning for the person that's leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was done. It doesn't matter. People were up at 4:30 in the morning starting the fufu so that the big man can eat fufu before he leaves.
Was
That's
that a norm or the exception?
Yes, no, it was a norm. In my house, it was a norm because the big man. Hold on, no. But what I'm saying is that what could you?
Did you hear him?
What he's saying
He's
is
saying
that
about people woke up 5:30 in the morning to pound fufu so that the big man can eat.
Yes.
It is not every house that has big men. And
I agree, but that's what I'm saying. That is not dynamism, though.
Hold on.
That's what I'm saying. It's different.
Let him land.
In the vast majority of our homes, there are no big men and big women. So you cannot use what pertains in the houses of big men and women as the standard for your argument.
Yes.
It's a simple, straightforward matters.
Okay. I mean, we'll agree to disagree.
I want us to catch a flight to the United States of America and just do this briefly.
Okay.
And perhaps catch another flight to Iran. I'm not sure about Israel. But there have been some three very important geopolitical developments. Now, first thing is that Donald Trump, who is the president of the United States of America, has said that, and I want to read this from the New York Post. Trump says Iran has agreed to no nuclear weapons in major concession. So President Trump said Iran has agreed to his biggest demand in order to stop the war, no nuclear weapons. They have agreed. They will never have a nuclear weapon. They have agreed to that. Tehran has not stated that publicly and denied even talking to the US. But Trump has made clear that no nukes demand is necessary for the US to stop its military campaign. President Trump said Iran has agreed to his biggest demand in order to stop the war, no nuclear weapons. The president's comments come as the US and Iran are preparing for another round of negotiations in an attempt to bring a ceasefire to the war, while also gearing for a major combat operation if talks fall apart. We are actually talking to the right people and they want to make a deal so badly. You have no idea how badly they want to make a deal, the president said. Okay. Now, this is what Iran then says. Iranian military says US is negotiating with itself after Trump said Tehran wants deals so badly. Now, this one is the BBC report. The US is negotiating with itself. A spokesperson for the Iranian military says that someone like us will never come to terms with someone like you. The comments came after Donald Trump insisted Iran wants a deal so badly, saying on Tuesday that Iran gave the US a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. Unconfirmed reports also say the US has handed over a 15-point peace plan. It includes Iran dismantling nuclear facilities in exchange for lifting of sanctions. At the same time, the Pentagon is preparing to deploy some troops to Iran, according to BBC's US partner CBS News, but it has not been reported precisely where or when, and the White House hasn't committed. Meanwhile, Iran's mission to the UN says non-hostile vessels can pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Some ships from China, India, and Pakistan have already been passing through the vital waterway, and Israel and Iran are continuing to exchange strikes while 6 people have been killed in southern Lebanon, according to the state media. So, for instance, we know that India, we know China, and I think one other country who are deemed as non-hostile countries have been asked to use the Strait of Hormuz. And Russia, yes, they are using the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what is interesting for me, Uncle say, is that I recall one of the reasons why Donald Trump decided to bomb or to strike Iran was that he said he was convinced, and he knew it as a matter of fact, that Iran had nuclear weapons. And that if they don't stop Iran, then Iran will use those weapons against them. And so they become an existential threat to the United States of America. Now the same Donald Trump is telling us that Iran says they won't build any nuclear weapons, even though Tehran has said they've not had any such conversation. So I am confused, and I don't know which is which. But we're also aware that Pakistan is ready to host the supposed peace talks because Tehran has said nobody has reached out to them officially for any peace talks. Yet Donald Trump says Tehran wants a deal so badly that they want to talk. So then again, I don't know which is which. Help me put all of this in perspective. The good thing, though, is that the price of crude on international market has dropped from some 115 to now 86, 89. We're not sure what will happen tomorrow, but for now, this is what we have. Please help us put all of this in perspective, because I know you've been following this developments in the Middle East quite keenly and carefully.
Well, I mean, what is happening simply is a result of Donald Trump, especially, as Bill Clinton says, Donald Trump going to war without a strategy, without a plan, with nothing. In fact, Donald Trump plunged into this war with the enthusiasm of a day nursery child, going to play war games, video games. No plan, nothing. And what we're getting now is the consequence of that absolute recklessness. You understand? Now, Donald Trump has told us on a few occasions, 2-3 times, that he has killed all the leaders of Iran and that there's nobody to talk to. I'm sure you remember.
Yes.
He's told about 2-3 times that he's killed all the leaders of Iran and that there's nobody to talk to. So, who is he talking to now? Ghost? Incredible. What are we to believe? That he killed all the Iranian leaders and there are no leaders to talk to now? Or that he lied, didn't kill all the Iranian leaders? In fact, now he's talking about some very good guys, very reasonable people, who are making concessions to him, people he can work with and so on. Where did those people come from? Were they part of the leadership he had claimed that he had wiped out? I am confused. You understand? Now, it is also obvious that Donald Trump is looking for a reason to end the war.
You think so?
Yes. Because for 30 years, I'm not talking about 1 year, 30 years, Iran has insisted that it is not interested in building a nuclear weapon. In fact, Ayatollah Khamenei had actually issued a fatwa that it's a crime against God to produce or possess nuclear weapons. Now, Donald Trump comes to us and says, they have agreed not to have nuclear weapons, as if it's a new development. This development happened 30 years ago. Iran assured everybody that they would never produce or possess a nuclear weapon. So how is this new? Only Donald Trump can explain how this is new. You understand? I'm totally lost. Now, this brings up the history of Iran's nuclear program. And many people are shocked when they get to know that Iran's nuclear program was started by the United States of America. It was in 1957 that the U.S. assisted the Shah of Iran to begin a nuclear program. And indeed, it was with the assistance of Germany, France, and a few other Western states. Now, today, the U.S. is claiming that enrichment of uranium by the Iranians has hit the 60% level.
Yeah.
And that is sufficient justification for waging war on Iran.
Right.
Why? Iranian enrichment with U.S. collaboration reached 95%. So what are we talking about? It reached 95%.
Right.
It simply doesn't make any sense at all.
It doesn't add up.
Now, if you look at the people who are involved, the countries which have launched this war of aggression, basically Israel and the United States of America, all of them produce and possess nuclear weapons. So if it's a crime to possess nuclear weapons and so on, what are we saying about Israel's possession of nuclear weapons? And what is interesting is that Iran's nuclear facilities were under constant inspection by the International Atomic Energy Agency. In fact, Iran has signed the non-proliferation treaty. Israel has not signed the non-proliferation treaty.
Right.
And Israel's atomic energy facilities are not under international inspection. So, what are we talking about? I mean, absolutely crazy. I mean, it's difficult to wrap your head around this and so on. Now, Donald Trump is saying that, look, the opening of the Strait of Hormuz is a necessary condition for ending the war. My brother, that is the biggest trump card that Iran has. For ending the war, for protecting its people and so on. How does it give that out? The US and Israel are talking about regime change. They're talking about regime change without having identified any structure in Iran. There's no structure in Iran that they are depending on.
Right.
The people are not organized. No leadership has emerged and so on. And it's practically impossible. And in fact, their dream that the first strikes will open up Iran and that anti-government elements will pour into the streets and topple the government has turned out to be a pipe dream.
Yeah.
Because the people who are pouring out in the millions onto the streets are government supporters. You understand?
Yeah.
And I've listened to Iranian opposition elements who are saying that, but you said you were coming to liberate us. Now you are bombing our schools and killing us.
Yeah.
Now you are threatening to put us in total darkness forever and so on. It simply doesn't make sense. Now for me, the other thing is simply the fact that it appears that Pakistan will be the negotiator.
Yes.
You know that Pakistan has nuclear weapons.
They do?
Yes, Pakistan has nuclear weapons. Pakistan is a country which has insisted that every country must have a right to possess nuclear weapons for its defense. And yet that is the country the US is turning to now for succor. Incredible. I mean, the whole thing doesn't make sense. Anyhow you look at it, it doesn't make sense at all. The other thing which is important for me is that Donald Trump is talking about the eminence of peace. He's talking about a 15-point plan he has submitted to some Iranians that nobody knows, who have agreed basically with his plans and so on. Netanyahu says, we are not stopping the war.
Yeah.
So if Iran gets into an agreement with Donald Trump and Israel refuses to stop the war, what has been achieved?
Yeah.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Then you listen to the Western narrative and they say, well, we are doing this because the regime is dictatorial, the regime has suppressed its people. In fact, some accounts say it killed 3,500 people during the demonstrations and so on. And I'm sitting back and I'm wondering, why? Is that the measure? The United States of America went into Iraq on a suspicion, just mere suspicion or lie, that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. It killed 2 million Iraqis. 2 million Iraqi lives were lost. And then we found out that really there were no weapons of mass destruction. Between the United States of America, which has committed 2 million murders in Iraq, and Iran, which has killed, let's say, 38,000 of its citizens and so on, who is guilty of violations of human rights?
It's obvious, isn't it?
Israel, as we speak, is facing a charge of genocide. Genocide. Close to 80,000 Palestinians have been slaughtered. 2/3 of them are women and children. What right has Israel to be talking about human rights abuses? 3 days ago, I'm sure you probably saw it, the Israeli authorities decided that we are not going to pursue a case of the torture of Palestinian prisoners. I hope you remember.
Yeah, I do.
Now, what happened? An IDF member, a soldier of the Israeli Defense Force, had actually filmed the torture of a Palestinian prisoner in the most horrendous way. They were sodomizing the prisoner with sticks. And it was filmed and released. First, the Israeli authorities attempted to prosecute the person who released the video of this torture. And then even the Israeli public went angry and said, no, this torture should not be tolerated, and so on. The Israeli authorities then said they were investigating the matter. They've now come up to say that there is not sufficient evidence to prosecute the perpetrators. Why? Mustafa Maguti, one of the most prominent and popular Palestinian leaders, one of the most articulate Palestinian leaders, late last year, December, there were credible reports of his being tortured in prison. Does Israel have any moral right to be talking about human rights violations? Doesn't. So this double standards, wherever you turn, however you look at it, the double standards hits you in the face. Why? This war is going to have repercussions on everybody and anybody, anywhere in the world. Already it's beginning to have the repercussions.
Yeah.
Today, many people are jubilating because the price has come down below the $90 per barrel mark.
Yeah.
But why? It came there before and it went up again.
True.
The so-called market is responding to statements of Donald Trump. When he makes a statement and it sounds positive, the prices tumble. And then the world realizes that his statements are not really true. Then the price shoots up again and so on. That's what is happening. Moro, can you imagine, just imagine for a moment, that there's somebody close to Donald Trump who can anticipate or knows what he's going to say in the next moment, and is trading on the stock exchanges? Can you imagine how many billions the person will be making? So some people are profiting from this war. And I'm confident that no matter what happens, in the next 5 years, there will be an investigation about whether or not this tumbling and rising of prices and so on was deliberate in order for somebody to accumulate billions. Within the next 5 years, I predict that there will be an investigation. You understand? Look, Donald Trump himself, when he was talking about the bombing of the Kirk Island, what did he say? That he's going to bomb it for fun. The President of the United States of America, who has his fingers on the nuclear button, actually looks the media in the face and says, I want to bomb another country for fun. He gets kicks out of bombing other countries. Why? If he had been president of Ghana, I would have insisted that he's subjected to psychiatric examination. Seriously, if he had been president of Ghana.
That's harsh.
Well, unfortunately for him, he's not president of Ghana, so I cannot insist on that. But somebody who bombs another country for fun, he gets kicks out of bombing, gets kicks out of innocent children dying, dropping Tomahawk missiles and so on. It's for fun. Donald Trump is for fun. He enjoys it. What can be more sadistic than this? He said it. I didn't say it. He said he was going to bomb another country for fun. My goodness. Look, everybody in the world, I'm sure everybody in the world wants peace.
Right.
Not just in West Asia, but everywhere. I wish, everybody wishes that we had a situation where peace prevailed everywhere, where the price of oil, was affordable, where all of us as human beings could be working to build a new world, which would meet our aspirations, and so on. That's the wish of every reasonable person.
Right.
Unfortunately for us, once in a while, people like Donald Trump pop up. and create such a mess. I mean, listen to Donald Trump. He says that he can practically do anything he wants to do in Cuba, which is a lie. He can't do whatever he wants to do in Cuba, but he thinks so. And then he looks us in the face and says that, oh, his foreign minister will be the best president of Cuba. Can you imagine? He wants the Panama Canal for the U.S. He wants the whole of Canada as the 52nd state of the U.S. He wants Greenland. He has declared that Venezuelan oil belongs to him. And so, what is happening? Okay. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Moro. Good morning. I think I would, when I started speaking, I couldn't greet my people.
Okay.
I would greet the members of the New Patriotic Party,
okay,
and especially those that could not vote in the 2024 election. And we hope that they've seen what is going on across the country, and they are lacing their boots to do the membership registration that's ongoing. They shouldn't pay attention to anybody who is doing some polls to have an agenda. I also want to greet my people in Mamponting, in the Kwabri East, and my hometown people in Puano, in the Bekwai East. Look, I will just say something small on this Iran, Israel-American issue, and then we move on to more important issues affecting us in Ghana. For me, Iran has made certain conditions very clear. They say that they are for negotiation, not for dictation, and there can be a deal because there was a deal before which was ripped up by the President of the United States in his first term. And if he wants to come back to the table, he has to come back to the table on the conditions of the Iranians, not on the conditions of the United States. So it's a tall order. The reason it's a tall order is that America will want to save face. The Iranians have nothing to lose. And from what we have seen, they've shown that, look, you come into my backyard, the first act you do is kill my supreme leader, kill the top 3 military personnel, and basically go on a bombing spree that kills kids and all that, right? So they have repeatedly said that they are not going to be, because for them the worst is over. I mean, the one who is down, fear no foe. So they will fight to the point where their dignity and their nationality is restored. Okay, so America, if America really wants to negotiate, they have to be prepared to basically eat a humble pie and accept certain conditions. Because look, this thing happened last year, June, and it's happened again. And one of the things the Iranians have said is that they don't want a situation whereby in the next 5 years, 2 years or 3 years or whenever it takes, somebody can get up and just bomb them again, right? Because it's not really about what they say or what they do. They went to Oman. There was a good meeting in Oman. Everybody attests to the fact that the meeting in Oman was very successful. Hours later, they were bombed. So really and truly, it's not about what they do. It's about what somebody else thinks. And they want an end to that. So I think for there to be a comprehensive ceasefire, some of these needs of Iran has to be met. On the United States side, I think that there is 2 wars going on. One that if you watch CNN and watch all the things going on, they will tell you what is happening. And then if you try to scroll through other media, you will hear exactly what is also going on. The Americans are beginning to find out that most of the things being told to them in their local news and stuff like that are lies. Yesterday, President Trump said that, when he brought this issue up, it was his defense minister who first spoke and agreed that they should go to war. Clearly, somebody to blame to say that, look, it wasn't my idea, it's somebody's idea.
Right.
The impact on Ghana. Yes, we know that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, but gradually we are beginning to realize that, yes, not all the 20% of oil that goes through there will come onto the market, but there is some oil coming through. The challenge is the bombing of the Qatar LNG, some of the refineries that has been bombed and some of the facilities that has been bombed. That will make the international energy prices stay a bit higher even after the war is over. My fear is that we might have scarcity of some products, because if other countries can't get it, there is only a set refinery capacity around the world, right? And if other countries can't get it, then it means that shifting of products from the Amsterdam, Antwerp area to the Asians area, then Africa, we might have a problem. We know that Kenya and other countries are talking to Dangote in terms of what is available with Dangote, and Nigeria themselves also need the Dangote refined product. So we just have to keep our fingers crossed that we don't get to a point where we might suffer scarcity, whereby we are prepared to pay for the product, but we don't have it. Those are some of the challenges that I see. The other thing when it comes to the politics of it in Ghana is that I've seen Fitch come out to say that they are reviewing the GDP growth downwards because of the war. And I want to state it emphatically that the GDP growth for 2026 was going to slow down anyway. It's got nothing to do with the war. The actions of the Bank of Ghana, the actions of the Minister of Finance in bringing inflation to where it is, right? It's all the anti-inflationary measures they've put in place. What was to result into the slowing down of the economy. Because if you look at the OECD countries who have inflation around the 2-3%, they can only get a certain amount of growth. When you have a lot of fire in your economy, whereby there's a lot of activities, and you now have Bank of Ghana spending 17 billion last year to mop up liquidity, having to force down interest rates so that, well, the theory is that they can lend to the private sector. But you now have Bank of Ghana buying T-bills, Ministry of Finance buying T-bills. All these things are in a way of not letting the banks lend to the average person. So there are certain activities that, for me, was going to affect the growth of the economy in the coming year. But the war has also come to add to some of these things. So look.
But Kojo, before you even proceed with this, no, I've heard this argument being made time and time and again about the economic trajectory or the economic paradigm that this government is pursuing, and it's either unintended consequences or its intended consequences. And I keep asking myself that we all know it as a matter of trite, that it doesn't matter which economic policy you pursue, there will always be a trade-off.
Yes.
That is number one.
Yes.
But number two, wouldn't it rather, in order to enrich the conversation, for us to look at whether to do a cost-benefit analysis or whatever economic policy you are pursuing. So, what has been the benefits? But what has it cost us for us to benefit? You know, rather than something is bad.
Nobody's saying it's bad.
The reason I'm saying that is and it's not just you. I mean, I've had.
No, I understand that. So to the point you made, everything has a good side and a bad side.
Because and I'm raising this question because you're not the only person who's sat on this chair and has raised concerns about the direction we're going.
Yes.
And its implications both in terms
and
of
its disadvantages. Yes.
And I've wondered. Of course, this is the first time I'm asking this question, that if we have to pay some small price for a bigger,
to who? You see, you are making us look at it. I don't mean to cut you, but I get where you're going. Let me answer this. Look, right and wrong is a subject of relativity.
I agree.
What is a bigger picture to you might be a smaller picture to me.
True.
Now, every policy a government takes has advantages and disadvantages.
That's also a fact.
Now, whoever is propagating that policy is only going to highlight the advantages.
Okay.
Then somebody will come up. Hold on.
Please do me this favor. Whoever is propagating the policy would be more interested in highlighting and promoting the advantages. So I want you to stop right there. I beg you, because we need to take a break. People have paid for this show. We have to acknowledge them. I beg you. So you're watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. Please stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
my friends. My name is Kel Kids Toothpaste.
Wow.
I was made to be gentle on your gum, but protected. I will protect your teeth from cavity, make your teeth whiter, stronger, keep your mouth fresh all day. And best of all, I'm strawberry flavored. So put on a smile and try me.
That's amazing.
Just try me. That's my job.
If you say so, jump on my brush.
Makes your teeth stronger, chicky whiter, chicky stronger. Yay! You did it!
I'm glad you like your new toothpaste. Don't forget to brush both day and night.
Kel Kids, happy smile.
Hey buddy, it's me Azar.
Yeah, me now they see. Hey, you look fresh. Oh.
Hey.
With your label today, me.
Wait till you see what's inside me.
Azar, freshly made inside and out for greater coverage and colors that last longer and beautify your walls, spaces and places. Azar, no size. Go ahead. Buy now. Azar, #1 from Azar Group since 1921.
Finding the ideal property shouldn't be a daunting task. At MNC Properties, we believe everyone deserves a place to call home. That's why we specialize in providing affordable housing options under our flagship project, Fresh Property Joy. Specifically designed for low and medium income earners. Our range of customizable homes includes 2 and 3 bedroom standard and executive options, all meticulously crafted using innovative interlocking brick technology. We understand the importance of simplicity and convenience in the acquisition process. That's why we have designed our procedures to be straightforward and hassle-free, offering flexible payment options tailored to your individual needs. In addition to our affordable homes, we proudly offer litigation-free lands for sale in vibrant and upscale communities that present the perfect opportunity to build your dream home. We are committed to making affordable housing a reality, providing you with the joy of owning a home that meets your budgets and aspirations. Whether you're looking to buy, rent, or invest, we've got you covered. Our service team is ready to assist you on 030-255-1917. MNC Properties, choice of class.
Wabedum Tamaso. Hey, J. Watch it, na learning. Missy, watch and learn. Makwema besisia. Abozig. Akache say no ya konate and the more drink woman. Hey. But I didn't mean. Oh, sorry. She knew her old days. Eji. Dabio, baby wom. Ready. Hey, baby wom. Ah, Eji. I'll cause some discomfort. Ah. Sorry, well, uncle, where would I die? Why your funeral?
Say a sorry insecticide GB at a user. For pharmacy in a shop biamu. Na mum say a pharmacy supermarket and a shop ra. Na repedudu to a kotonwa. On offer Royal Dutch and our Aerofield Trading. Efi spray with daimwa. Chansima a dronu and sana a radine. Inkratui FDA ajatum.
When nations rise, it begins with bold conversations. When economies grow, it is driven by partnership. This April, Ghana's business and policy leaders converge at the Pro Business Forum 2026, the nation's premier platform for investment, enterprise, and economic transformation. With special guest of honor, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, joining captains of industry, financial institutions, investors, and entrepreneurs.
The Pro Business Forum is more than just an event. It is a call to action. And so let us work together to build a Ghana that is competitive, productive, and inclusive, and a Ghana that creates opportunities for all.
Come, let's engage in high-level dialogue, explore industry exhibitions, build powerful networks, and unlock real opportunities from finance and insurance to manufacturing, agribusiness, SMEs, and innovation. This is where it all happens. From the 3rd to the 5th of April 2026 at the Kwewu Convention Center in Praeso Hills. Go to www.kwewubusinessforum.com and register now. To register for exhibitions, call 059 555 5885 or 059 555 5995. Kwewu Business Forum. Connect, promote, grow.
در میدان جنگ از لحاظ مهمات ما 2 جور توپ گلوله توپ میتونستیم تولید کنیم. حالا الان موشک بالستیکمون از راه دور که 2000 کیلومتره که اونم 2000 کیلومتر رو بنده گفتم. خیلی اینا می‌خواستن برن تا 4-5 هزار کیلومتر. من نگذاشتم. بله آقا علتی داره دیگه، حالا علتی داره. من مانع شدم. یعنی گفتم بیشتر از 2000 کیلومتر الان نباید درست کنید. اونا هم شکایت دارن از من و گله‌مندن که فلانی نمیذاره. این 2000 کیلومتر نقطه زن 2000 کیلومتر چیز بسیار برجسته است. اینا نقطه زن هست، یعنی مثلا به فاصله 10 متر 5 متر یه جایی رو میزنه. در
This country sits back and allows a country such as Iran to hold our hostages, to my way of thinking, is a horror.
You're advocating that we should have gone in there with troops, etc., and brought our boys out.
I absolutely feel that, yes. I don't.
All right. Oh, Bright, interesting videos you shared with us, isn't it? Anyway, may the soul of Ali Ayatollah Khamenei rest in peace. He wasn't a bad man as we were made to believe. You saw that video where he was cautioning his scientists against producing all kinds of nuclear weapons, and that he wasn't interested in that. But you've also seen Donald Trump, the views he expressed in 1980 about Iran. Whatever you do with that video, that's entirely up to you. But anyway, you're watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. I'm still here with Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is a former managing editor of the Insight newspaper. And then also I have Mr. Kojo Safapoku, who is the executive director of INSTEP and also a member of the NPP communications team. Kojo, yes. I had to, sorry about that, rudely interrupt because we had to go on a short break. But you're saying that whatever economic paradigm or whatever economic direction you take, the people who are at the helm of affairs would want to highlight the positives. If you can take it from there.
Yes, so basically what the point I was making is that, and I'll be brief on this, is that if you look at every economic policies, every action has its advantages and disadvantages.
Right.
The good thing is that when you have somebody doing a policy, obviously he will highlight the benefits, right? Which is a good thing. But some of us who have a 360 view of what is happening will also come on their shows like this and say that, look, let's be careful on some of the things that we are doing. And like I said, like you mentioned, some people have raised the concerns that actions of a certain policy has other effects. Because if you bring in anti-inflationary measures, which pushes inflation to 3% and all that, other countries that have inflation of 3% cannot basically have an 8% or 6% growth. And these are developed nations. They don't need, the United Kingdom, the United States don't need 7-6% growth. They're happy with 4% growth. But Ghana, we are not. We are a growing nation, especially coming off the fact that we grew by 2023, we grew by 3.1%, and we have been on the upward projection since then. We had a 6-point-something growth last year. So we need to grow for the country to basically move to get to where we need to get to. So the point I wanted to make is that the war, yes, is a challenge. We hope it stops. And I think the indications are that it will not go on past another 4 weeks. I think within the next 4 weeks, we will get a very good conclusion to the war. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Obviously, I want us to look at this story. It's been trending. In fact,
before then, before then, a small matter indeed, you know.
All right.
I keep hearing this debate about the economic model that this government is
pursuing.
implementing.
Okay.
And sometimes the impression is created that it's substantially different from the economic model that the previous government implemented. That's not true. Both governments are implementing the same economic model.
Neoliberal.
Yeah, we are still in the IMF program. Have we gone out of the IMF program?
Not at all.
It's the same IMF program that the Akufo-Addo government signed, which the Mahama administration is implementing. What is significant is that the outcomes have been different.
Right.
Okay. So the question to ask is that how come that they are using the same economic frame and we are getting different outcomes?
Right.
That's the substantial question.
Okay. All right. So obviously, your friend, the president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We don't want to say your friend because if amongst the other things, or in addition to the things that you have in common, is the fact that he's championing reparations. He's the AU African champion in reparations. He's in New York and he's been talking. And he's been championing and lobbying and pushing for all kinds of things. That the papers are reporting it. The Daily Graphic says slavery is criminal. President Mahama declares at UN tables motion for reparation voting today. And the Ghanaian Times is also saying no excuse for slave trade. President Mahama tells United Nations. The Daily Guide doesn't have anything on that. The New Crusading Guide also doesn't have anything on that. The Herald also doesn't have anything on the president's United Nations visit and what he's doing there. But the Accra Times has Mahama storms UN on transatlantic slave trade, criticizes slave trade as dehumanizing. So let's do the Daily Graphic one. It's on page 20. Okay, so it's on page 3, but I'll start from the front page. Now he says the story is by Pakome Emmanuel Damali. From New York, USA, says the President John Dramani Mahama has challenged the global community to confront the full horror of the transatlantic slave trade and embrace reparative justice as a pathway to healing in a spirited appeal to an assembly of global figures. Speaking at the United Nations headquarters in New York yesterday at the UN high-level special event on reparative justice, President Mahama began his 8-page address with a provocative declaration: there is no such thing as a slave. Now, he says, explaining his assertion, President Mahama said there were human beings who were trafficked, right? And then enslaved by people who believed they could own those human beings as chattel, as their personal property. He emphasized that the distinction was critical, indicating that not if you acknowledge an individual's humanity, not if you respect an individual's basic rights to dignity. President Mahama described the transatlantic slave trade as a system designed to deny African people their humanity, premised on a racial hierarchy with no basis in fact or science. When discussing slavery and its resulting institutions and practices, we must always start by reclaiming racial equality, the dignity of Africans, the humanity of our ancestors who were enslaved, and as a matter of course, our own humanity. Now, the president's speech preceded the expected formal tabling of the motion at the event and the subsequent vote on the subject both today. Now, while the call for, so that's happening today, while the call for reparative justice for slave and the slave trade had been pushed by various actors across the ages, none had ever come this close to receiving the ultimate attention at this level of global conference. Now, for this purpose, President Mahama was named the African Union champion on reparations. President Mahama said the resolution offered the global community an opportunity to collectively bear witness to the plight of the 18 million men, women, and children whose names, communities' names, families, hopes, dreams, futures, and lives were stolen from them over the course of 4 centuries. He affirms that the resolution was a pathway to the healing and reparative justice and a safeguard against forgetting the history of slavery and the slave trade. The president recounted the cruelty under which several Africans were captured, underscoring the need to recognize the suffering of Africans. Violence begins with language, when words are used as weapons, or codified abuse when people are called names regardless of their state of dress, when they were captured, enslaved Africans, and always stripped of their clothing while being kept in the dungeons of the fortress that had been built by the Europeans. So President Mahama called on leaders of the African Union member states to back the motion and bring justice to the enslaved Africans who suffered cruelty between the 14th and 18th century. I hope all of you will vote tomorrow, which is today, to speak the truth to power, so that together we can pass this historic resolution and finally acknowledge the full horror of these transgressions against the humanity of the 18 million human beings who were enslaved and so on. Now, there were some other issues that came up yesterday that the United States of America was against this whole tabling of a motion and so on. And then there was a counter press statement that said that it is not true that the United States of America was in full support of this. We're not sure what exactly is the issue. But what are your general thoughts on this? Some people are saying that we're wasting our time. Nothing will happen.
Who can say that?
We'll just talk. Nothing will happen.
Who can say that? Especially if they are African.
Right.
You understand? It would be very strange if anybody said that. I mean, that would represent a total misunderstanding of history.
Right.
And the impact on history on current developments. But you see, the first point I'd like to make is that this resolution is not being tabled by President Mahama alone. You understand? It is not even a Ghana resolution which is being tabled.
It's an African one.
Because at the last summit of heads of states of the African Union, all 55 heads of states endorsed the resolution. It's gone beyond that. It also went to CARICOM.
Okay.
And all the countries, member countries of CARICOM, have endorsed it. So it's an African Caribbean resolution which is being placed before the United Nations General Assembly. And has tremendous support. I mean, yesterday I saw the open forum at which Reverend Al Sharpton and so on, all of them spoke, in support of this resolution. So this is a resolution which has worldwide support. I mean, everywhere. I personally, last year, wrote a letter to about 100 members of the European Parliament on this subject. And Moro, you'll be amazed about the responses I got from members of the European Parliament.
Interesting.
Who see this as a worthy cause. You understand? Yesterday you heard the deputy representative of Colombia at the UN Security Council. And he made a rousing speech by his father, by his president. He had a rousing speech. In fact, Reverend Al Sharpton actually made a statement to the effect that any African or anybody of African descent who stands against this big movement of the African people for justice must be an enemy of the African people. I'm sure you heard it. I'm not the one saying it.
I heard it. Very clearly,
So this is what we are up with. Now, one, President John Dramani Mahama was actually chosen, elected as the African Union champion on reparations for 1 year. Okay? His term came to an end last year. The African Union then decided that rather than have 1 year of focused actions demanding reparation and so on, we should have a decade. This is the African Union decision, that we have a decade of struggle for reparations and so on. Again, very significant. Now, it is also obvious that next year, President John Dramani Mahama,
John Mahama, for short,
will become the AU chairperson. And that's also largely because of the gains of the reparation movement that he has scored. You understand? For example, all of the West African leaders are unanimous in their decision that the AU chairmanship should go to him. So far, I haven't heard or seen any opposition to his becoming the AU chairman. So that's very clear. Now, there's a certain basic misunderstanding of reparations, and that is what. You see, some people think that when you talk about reparation, it's about begging for arms. It's about begging for money. We are asking for money to pay for the crimes which were committed against us. My brother, I've made the point over and over again that no amount of money can pay for the crimes which were committed against the African people. So the reparation movement is not about begging for money. No amount of money can pay for the crimes which were committed against us. The reparation movement is about resetting the world in order to give the African a voice, in order to end the degrading conditions under which Africans have to work and live today, in order to ensure that Africans would own their resources and exploit these resources for their own benefit. That is what the reparation movement is about. Now, listen, Moro. What were the crimes which were committed against us? And I've gone through a lot of literature. In fact, to be able to write my book on reparations, I went through tons of literature. The least figure I've seen, says that 12.6 million Africans were captured and used as beasts of burden to work in the Americas for hundreds of years without pay. This is the least figure I've seen. The analysis will tell you that for every African who was captured and enslaved, 3 others were killed. Because they waged wars in order to be able to capture these Africans and enslave them. So for every 1 African who was captured into slavery, 3 others were killed. So to get the figure as to the number of people that Africa lost, you need to multiply 12.6 by 4. 1/3 of which were lost, captured and used as slaves, beasts of burden and so on. And 2/3 were actually murdered in these wars of enslavement and so on. So we are talking about more than 50 million Africans lost in a space of about 400, 500 years. Can you imagine the impact of this on any continent?
It's huge.
50 million people killed. This is the crime which was committed against us. And then, my brother, you have to look also at the genesis, the legality, and so on. The legal justification for the transatlantic slave trade came from the Pope in 1452. And the legal document which the Pope issued is now referred to as the Papal Bull. In the Papal Bull, the Pope authorized King Alfonso of Portugal to go out into the world and to civilize people like us. And that if we refused to be civilized, we were to be killed. Our properties were to be seized, and our wives were to be taken. I mean, what can be more criminal than this? And civilization meant conversion to Christianity. That's what civilization meant. So if you are not a Christian, you are deemed to be uncivilized. And the punishment for being uncivilized was to be killed. Also, your property to be seized and so on. Then there was the principle of the vacant lands. You have vacant lands. Our lands were declared vacant in order to justify both the transatlantic slave trade and colonialism. And you know why? The only way you can go and capture other human beings as slaves, to work for you without pay, to torture them, to kill them and so on, is for you to convince yourself that those other human beings are inferior. So the declaration of our lands as vacant lands was part of a grand scheme of things to declare us inferior. If you saw land which was occupied by snails and grass cutters and so on, you consider that as vacant lands, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's only when you saw human beings like you there that you would assume that the land is occupied.
Right.
So the declaration of our lands as vacant lands was because they didn't see us as human beings like them. And that gave them the moral justification, or they think it gave them moral justification, to take over our lands, to do what they did with us. And moreover, listen to me very carefully. In this period, our forebears did not just work for free to lead to the accumulation of wealth, which became the basis for the development of the Western world today. Their skins were used to make bags and shoes. I mean, can you imagine the level of this atrocity? In the same way that you use sheepskin and python skin and so on, cowhide to make bags. Our forebears had their skins used to make bags, leather accessories for the slave owners. Unbelievable. This happened to us. I mean, if you watch the forum in New York yesterday and all the descriptions of the things that happened and so on, why? If you buy a cow, if you buy a goat, and the goat delivers, the baby goats are yours.
Yeah.
Under slavery, the same law which applies to goats applied to us.
Yeah.
So if the black slave gave birth, the children did not belong to him. Because the black slave itself was a property of the slave owner. So the children automatically belonged to the slave owner and so on. So many things. Look, today, if you go around Europe and so on, America and so on, you find museums. What do you find in the museums? You find in those museums the heads of our heroes. What civilization displays the heads of human beings for public viewing and profit? What civilization does that? And those who were killed, those who were beheaded, were our heroes who resisted our enslavement and resisted colonialism. They killed them and cut off their heads and took it to their countries to exhibit. You know, I can continue on and on and on about the atrocities. Look at what Belgium did in the Congo. In fact, the whole of the Congo was considered as the personal property of the King of Belgium. The King of Belgium used the Congo to extract rubber and other minerals and so on. It was upon that he built his vast wealth. Now, if the Africans were not able to deliver the quantity of rubber that the King of Belgium wanted, they amputated one hand. The next time they failed to deliver the quantity, they amputated the other hand. What is more terrorist than this? And so on. But we went through this. But most importantly, I mean, why we are calling for research. You see, the United Nations was set up around 1945, after the Second World War. And it was set up to prevent war and also to develop mechanisms to ensure that the world did not suffer situations which could bring about war, like extreme poverty and so on and so on. Unfortunately for us, by 1945, when the UN was being established, there was no African at the table. Because the vast majority of African states were still under colonialism, were colonized, so we're not there. They set up this United Nations organization, which does not recognize the interests of the African people. That is why today, 1.4 billion Africans do not have any say in the UN Security Council. 1.4 billion Africans. We don't have a say. And yet, small countries like France and Britain have veto powers in the UN Security Council. This situation needs to change. We need to reset the United Nations so that our voices would matter. This is reparation. This is the agenda which is being pursued. This is what the resolution which will be passed in the UN General Assembly today should lead to, a reset of the world. And the reset of the world is not just about the UN Security Council. My brother, it's about the World Trade Organization. It must represent us. It must lead to the expression of African aspiration, the realization of the African aspiration. The IMF and the World Bank need to be reshaped and so on. We need to do that. So it's about research. Now, one of the things that affected us, the transatlantic slave trade did to us, was that it devalued our spirituality. You understand? It substantially devalued our spirituality. We need to reset. You know, When I was growing up, and that's recently, the African drum was not allowed in the church because it was considered evil. You couldn't play phantom drum in the Catholic Church. Evil! You understand? It took great men and women like Bishop Akwesi Sapon and so on to fight for our culture to find expression in the church. It took the Mozambique, the creation of the Mozambique Disco Christo Church, to make our culture, our religion, and so on compatible with Christianity. Today, you see many Catholic priests. You know, they have kente motifs in their cassocks and so on. It's a recent development. You understand? When I was growing up, the Rich Hospital in Accra was a whites-only hospital. Yes. When I was growing up, the Accra Club was a whites-only club and so on in Ghana. Can you imagine the trauma that our people have gone through and so on? So we need to reset this world, and that is what this reparation agenda is about.
Wow.
And this is the agenda that, fortunately for us, is being led by President John Dramani Mahama as the AU champion, and will be pursued by him next year when he becomes chairman of the AU. In fact, a lot of people think that this radical move is by left-wing elements and so on. One of the most strident voices in Africa today for reparation is the government of Togo. The government of Togo is strident. I mean, the Togolese foreign minister, I met him in a conference in Algiers, late last year. And he said that, look, if they will not listen to us, let's boycott the UN. We should refuse to go to the General Assembly every September and make speeches and so on. So what is the value? Boycott the UN. Let the world come to the reality that we are not part of this structure. And so on. This is the Togolese foreign minister. Yesterday, for those of you who watched the forum in New York, you saw President Eyadima sitting in there and so on. So this is something which has united the whole of Africa, our leaders, the diasporan leadership and so on. One of the most brilliant speeches I've heard on this matter is a speech which was delivered by Duruba bin Wahab. I don't know if you remember Duruba bin Wahab.
Right.
Duruba bin Wahab, who is now resident in Ghana, was a former Black Panther leader. And he gave a brilliant speech, excellent speech, you understand, on this matter. So the whole of the African world, either on the continent or in the diaspora, is mobilized behind this momentous demand for reparation. Look, there is no institution in the world which is prospering today which is not a beneficiary of the free labor of the African slave. University, church, financial institutions, all of them build those institutions on the back of our enslavement, on the back of our pain, on the back of our free labor. Take the Barclays Bank. Take the Barclays Bank. Who established the Barclays Bank?
It's not ABSA.
Yeah.
It's no more
The Barclays Bank
yes.
was established by the Barclay brothers. There were two brothers who were slave traders. It was established with slave money. You understand? Established with slave money. Take any Western institution. And sometimes they say things that are so annoying. We want our stolen artifacts back. And sometimes I don't even want to refer to them as artifacts. These were symbols of our spirituality. These were monuments of our leaders and so on, our heroes. And then they tell you that your museums don't have the standards that they have, and therefore, until you have attained the standards that they have, they will keep the stolen items. What effrontery! What effrontery! What is this?
And again,
Moro, is this show now today a history program? No, but I mean, if we want to go into this history, then Uncle Kwesi, who's a Pan-African, you give him a one-on-one so he come and do history. No, but I mean, it's just becoming a history lesson.
Hold on, let me respond to
the importance of this conversation.
My friend.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not important.
Yeah.
Don't say that. I'm not saying it's not important. It's becoming a history lesson.
Look, the whole of the world has for some time, especially today, been focused on history. History today is a current affairs.
Which NDC cancelled in Ghana as part of our education is what? Yes, NDC cancelled history in education in Ghana. So what are we talking about? The history is what?
So what?
Yes, but my point is that history, if that time you had a voice in this country, you made the NDC, you sat and NDC cancelled history as part of curriculum. How are you not telling history is focus of the world? I'm not talking about that. You said history.
So our history is no longer important.
You cannot, Uncle Kwesi, sit here and talk about history when at the time you had a voice, you allowed the NDC to cancel history as part of our curriculum.
I allowed.
But you had a voice.
Oh.
Master, let's not turn this into a history lesson. Let's discuss better sourcing.
No, when you say he allowed, when you say he allowed.
But he had a voice. Uncle Kwesi, listen, he's my uncle. Him and Kwesi Bako, the kind of boycotts they've done in this country.
There is nobody in this country called Kwesi Bako.
Kwesi Pratt, Uncle Kwesi Pratt, Uncle Kubako. So, you guys had ability to boycott things and not make it happen. You did not do anything about history being taken out of our curriculum. Let us land on the history lessons and discuss.
Unfortunately, my counterpart here does not know what time it is. 55 countries in Africa, plus all the Caribbean countries, Africans everywhere are moving a motion in the United Nations today and say it's not important. It's just history. Are you not shocked by this statement? I am totally shocked. The whole of Africa, the whole of the diaspora, the Caribbean, is moving a motion in the United Nations General Assembly. Yesterday, the UN Secretary General made a speech at the forum. Presidents from the Caribbean, from Latin America, were all there, pledging their support. And he said it's not important. It's not worthy of discussion. Wow! Master, let's stop.
Okay. So
can you imagine that Africans? So there are some Africans in this world who think that this is not an important matter.
Oh no, I don't think he said it's not important. He says
we should discuss more important things.
We'll spend so much
this
time.
is just history. You should spend time on
you said history, and I said history. For me, so if we talk about history in Ghana, you see, listen, I learned history in Ghana. When I found out that history was no longer part of our curriculum, I wept that day. But it was a regime that cut out, because you know why? They didn't want us to know their history. You see, let's not try to make it look like all of a sudden people don't know history.
I just wanted to do this, just briefly on this. And it sort of ties in with the earlier comment we made about how some museums around the world will not even...
Are you going to encourage him again on this?
Just 2 minutes. No, it's very important. We'll not even accept some of the... We'll call it some of the, well, you don't want to use artifacts. Let me just use artifacts for now, for lack of a better word, in their museums, because they feel that the artifacts do not even meet the threshold. Yesterday, the president, again, I heard him in that speech where he talks about the fact that the U.S. administration was normalizing the erasure of history. And he says the trend that he wants could have a ripple effect worldwide. And this is what he means. Now, he says the U.S. president has targeted cultural and historical institutions, from museums to monuments to national parks, claiming some exhibits promote anti-American ideology. And this one is supported by Reuters. Now, his declaration and executive orders have resulted in the removal of slavery exhibits, the reinstatement of Confederate status, and other actions that civil rights advocates warn could undo decades of social progress. Now, it goes ahead to say that Black history courses are being removed from school curricula, that institutions are being instructed to stop teaching the full truth about slavery, segregation, and racism, and that books addressing these subjects face growing bans. Of course, there's a White House spokesperson who said that's not true, and that Trump has done more for Black Americans than any other person, than any other president, and he's praising his historic support from the Black community in the 2024 elections, and that he's working around the clock to deliver for them and make America greater than ever before.
Well,
that buttress the point you made earlier.
Well, I fully agree with President John Dramani Mahama. There's an attempt to erase, history.
Okay.
And I think that attempt needs to be combated, very vigorously. You understand?
Okay.
And we are not even talking about ancient history. We are talking about recent history.
Okay.
You see, me, look at me, in my lifetime.
Yeah.
It was a criminal offense for black persons to sit in places allotted for white people in buses in the United States of America. When Ghana gained independence, Komla Egbele-Gbedema, who was the foreign minister, went to the United States of America and went to a cafe to buy coffee. They refused to serve him because he was black. So we are talking about recent history. You're not even talking about ancient history. You're not talking about the days of Mansa Musa and so on. You're talking about recent history, Kwame Nkrumah's time. You understand? And anyway, my brother doesn't want us to discuss this matter.
All right, that's. I just saw a shouting in your shots. Anyway, Kudu,
yes.
You have thoughts? You have any thoughts to share?
Well, no. Well, the president is in the UN.
Yes.
Yesterday, he made a statement yesterday.
Yes, that's.
Well, that's good. I mean, the president is championing Pan-Africanism, which Uncle Kwesi is a full throttle member of Pan-Africanism, and we appreciate him for that. But whilst he was in the UN making a statement, his roads minister was also on the floor of Parliament making a statement, and that is captured on most of the front pages, and that is what I want to discuss.
Okay.
When we have a political party come into power, and in their manifesto, they preach and make it look like sole sourcing, procurement. That's what I want to use my time for. I want to use my time. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say on that. So then I have nothing to say. That let's move on to the next topic. I have nothing to say.
You know how we do it here.
No, but the point is that that is more important because look, you finish at 10. It's 9. You're gonna rush it at the end. I have a break. I have a break and all that. No, I want to discuss this thing well so that the Ghanaians know that there is a party in power today which is whitewashing and pulling rules over our high. So let's discuss it. Whilst I have the floor, let me go ahead. No, it's not promised. You've done this before.
I promise.
Okay, so I don't have any. Uncle Kwesi have done justice to the. I'm relaxed. But Uncle Kwesi have done justice to the story.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next topic.
Okay. All right. So let's now go to your favorite topic. And it has to do with procurement and sole sourcing. Uncle Kwesi,
no, there's no problem. Today, everything is about sole sourcing. You can't discuss anything. Let's go and discuss sole sourcing. But let's discuss it and see what is in it.
So let me read the story from today's. I'll look at the new crusading guide and also the daily guide. They've raised two different angles to this raging controversy about sole sourcing. In fact, the Ghanaian publisher has also reported it. So perhaps let me do the Ghanaian publisher, which is on page 3. Now, what is the matter in issue? The minority turns heat on big push deals. Now, calls for greater transparency in the implementation of Ghana's flagship Big Push infrastructure program have intensified as the minority in parliament presses government to disclose full details of contracts awarded under the initiative. Now, the demand follows concerns raised by investigative outlets, the Fourth Estate, which suggested that some contracts may have been awarded through sole sourcing. At a press conference held in Parliament yesterday, the ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee, Kennedy Nyako Osei, emphasized that the need for openness in managing a program estimated to cost about 50 billion cedis. According to him, the public deserves access to detailed information about all contracts awarded under the initiative. This includes the identities of contractors, the specific scope of work assigned, and the cost per kilometer for each project. He noted that such disclosures would enable independent assessment of whether the projects deliver value for money. Transparency remains a cornerstone of good governance, Mr. Nyako Osei stated, stressing that open processes reduce suspicion and strengthen trust in public institutions. He further pointed out that the current administration had previously advocated higher standards of transparency while in opposition and should therefore uphold those same principles in government. The Minority Caucus indicates that once the requested data is released, it would benchmark project cost against industry standards for different types of roads, including bitumen, surface roads, asphalt overlays, and dual carriageways. This, they say, is necessary to guard against potential cost inflation and ensure prudent use of public funds. Now, the Big Push initiative, introduced by President Mahama during the 2026 State of the Nation address, is designed to accelerate infrastructure development, particularly in the road sector. Now, let me go to the meat of the matter. Now, the minority is insisting that Ghanaians have a right to know how resources are allocated. But the Minister for Roads and Highways, governs Kwame Agbodza, has firmly rejected allegations of widespread sole sourcing. Addressing Parliament, he describes claim that over 70% of contracts were awarded through sole sourcing as false and misleading. He clarifies that only 44% of major contracts under the program were procured through that method, while more than 400 contracts were awarded through open competitive bidding. There's no abuse of the sole sourcing process. It is an exception and not the norm. Mr. Agbodza explains that the skill and urgency of the Big Push program necessitated a mix of procurement approaches. And he says in some cases, sole sourcing was used to accelerate project delivery and avoid escalating cost, particularly for ongoing or inherited projects. He revealed that several projects valued at about 14.8 billion cedis inherited from the previous administration had stalled due to funding constraints. Now, these projects were incorporated into the Big Push program to ensure their completion. Most of these projects would not have started if we had not adopted a faster procurement route. The minister also highlighted that sole sourcing is an internationally accepted procurement method under specific conditions, such as when extending existing contracts or addressing urgent national needs. He maintains that all procurement processes under the program comply with Ghana's laws and regulations. To ensure value for money, Mr. Agbodza outlined several oversight mechanisms introduced under the initiative. These include independent value for money assessment, stricter monitoring systems, and involvement of local technical agencies in project design and costing. According to him, allowing state institutions to handle design and costing has already resulted in savings of at least 5%. He further assured Parliament that payments to contractors are strictly tied to work completed. We have instituted a system where no contractor will be paid without the work done. Kojo?
Yes. You see,
what exactly do you find?
Let's make this clear and let's educate our listeners.
All right.
Under our procurement law,
right,
sole sourcing is allowed.
Right.
Selective tender is allowed.
Right.
Then competitive tender is allowed. In
Right.
fact, from section 38 to 41 talks about whether you want to do procurement through sole sourcing, selective tender, or open competitive tender, right? We have seen the NDC, when in opposition, bastardize sole sourcing. They have over and over and over made it sound and look like sole sourcing was a crime. In fact, in their manifesto, it appears twice in their manifesto. On page 5 of their manifesto and on page 130-something, page 136 of their manifesto. Now, in their manifesto 6.11, I'll read section 10. It says, review the Public Procurement Act 2003 to ensure value for money, transparency in the public procurement processes, and pursue procurement reform to prevent conflict of interest, insider dealings, politically exposed persons in award of contracts. Implement measures to curtail abuse of single source and restrictive tendering procurement. That is in their manifesto. Then the president, on 2 occasions, in 2025, SONA, right, State of the Nation, and in 2026, the Nation, specifically highlighted sole sourcing in his SONA. So it gives you the impression that the president, both in his manifesto and in his speeches, demonized sole sourcing and make it look like it is a bad thing or it's something of last resort that shouldn't be done. Now, let's fast forward to what is happening today. We are told that there are 400 contracts given under the Big Push. So far, the government has given out 400 contracts, right? 44% of that 400 is under sole source. So you are looking at 176 contracts given out under sole source. Why? Nobody is saying that sole sourcing should not be done. It is the NDC that made it look like sole sourcing should be a thing of the past.
Right.
But in 1 year, they've given out 176 contracts, which is 44%, as you read out, of 400 contracts. So the question I ask is that, is it that the politician, which is the NDC politician, the president doesn't believe in the things that he put in his manifesto and the things that they say? And they go on to say that, you see the public notes that has been put out there by the NDC, right, to their communicators to now basically saying that, oh, everything which is so sourced, everything goes according to procurement, is according to the Procurement Act. Yes. When you were bastardizing it in opposition, and you claim that the MPP had over 23 contracts so sourced, and it was a bad thing, and you even go on to say that, oh, it was inherited and abandoned and blah 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 blah, right? He says all processes complied with the Public Procurement Act. Of course, sole sourcing is part of public procurement. So why bastardize it? Why were you making too much fuss when you're in opposition about sole sourcing, as if it wasn't part of public procurement? It is part of public procurement. And when sole sourcing is done, and you go through the public procurement process, which is section 41 to 45, you are now asked to make it public through the website of the Public Procurement Authority, their e-bulletin. So it is there. So when somebody says that it is publicly available, what, in the past when sole sourcing was done, it wasn't publicly, the details were not publicly available? So look, I just want this morning, the Ghanaians watching us, to understand that it's sad when today politicians like myself are having a problem with policy credibility with the general public. Do you know why? Because the public is beginning to feel that when you want power, you say one thing, and when you get into power, you say something else. Because the issue at the road ministry comes on the heels of what is happening at the Gold Board, where in Gold Board we are told that our agency to move an office, and through selective tender, we are told that somebody is now procuring an 85-inch television for over 800,000 Ghana cedis. When you said so, it's a mistake. If you have done a public tender, you'll have seen that mistake when people were bidding. And when you go to what they talk about conflict of interest, in their own manifesto, they said that transparency in the public procurement process and pursue procurement to prevent conflict of interest, insider dealing by publicly exposed person in the award of contract. Who are we told that the Gold Board tender went to? When they did a selective tender, the company that owns, the people behind the company are the same people that own Ways-Up. And we are told that the deputy chief of staff is a director or a shareholder of the two companies. So in your own manifesto, the things you say you do in your manifesto, you are in power today and you are doing otherwise, because you've clearly stated that you want to put in place procurement to stop contracts being given to politically exposed and insider dealings. So the most important thing that I want to talk about this thing is very important, is that if we are not careful as a nation, we are losing the general population, because the political class is beginning to be seen as talking, bastardizing everything that the opposition does, only to be elected into power and do the same thing. Everybody is trying to justify that, oh, but sole sourcing is according to Public Procurement Act. Yes, we know that. So if you knew that, why were you bastardizing it when you're in opposition? The other thing that everybody needs to understand is this. When you now come out and say that the big push, the Fourth Estate issued a statement saying that 107 contracts were issued. Now, 81 of the 107 were given out on sole source to the value of 73 billion Ghana cedis. And all the newspapers are saying the NDC rebuttal is that, oh, it's mischief, it's mischief. What is the mischief? Where the Fourth Estate story, where is the mischief? They are even saying 81. The minister himself is saying that 44% of 400. So even isn't 81 lesser than the 176 contract that has been given out on sole source? And I want to, in the coming days, do a RTI to the Public Procurement Authority to find out from them which companies were these 176. Because one, the Act 38 The Act 38 to 41 tells you under which conditions you can do sole source or single source. You can do selective. You want to find out, one, if they are saying urgency, fine, urgency is fine. The companies that the contracts were given to, what are their capacities? These 176 contracts were given to Ghanaian companies. Fine, no problem. Ghanaians have got jobs.
Okay.
But what is the capacity, and do they have what it takes to execute these contracts? And those are some of the reasons why a public tender will now bring on board certain companies that you will now know that have the ability to execute these contracts. So look, I think the president means well. I don't know whether his ministers are not in sync with what the president is saying. But look, he's talking about reparation in New York. But what is important, that's why I asked my uncle to let's discuss this, is that everybody that talks about procurement mishaps, abuse of procurement, the first thing they go to is sole source or single source contracts.
Okay. Let me do this. Let me talk to you about the Kwewu Business Forum. I'll bring you up with it just a second. Let me talk to you about the Kwewu Business Forum, which is coming up sometime from the 3rd to the 5th of April. Now, when nations rise, it begins with bold conversations. When economies grow, it is driven by partnership. Now, this April, Ghana's business and policy leaders converge at the Kwewu Business Forum 2026, the nation's premier platform for investment, enterprise, and economic transformation. Now, with special guest of honor, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, joining captains of industry, financial institutions, investors, and entrepreneurs. Now, come engage in high-level dialogue, explore industry exhibitions, build powerful networks, unlock real opportunities from finance and insurance to manufacturing, agribusiness, SMEs, and innovation. This is where it all happens. So from finance and insurance to manufacturing, agribusiness, SMEs, and innovation. Now, starting from the 3rd to the 5th of April 2026, the Kwewu Convention Center at ATBA. Now, go to www.kwewubusinessforum.com and register now to attend if you want to be a part of this. Now, you can also call 059 555 5885, 059 555 5885, or 059 555 5995 if you want to participate in this August or this important event. The Kwewu Business Forum is meant to connect, to promote, and to grow, and is proudly supported by platinum sponsor KGL Group. The gold sponsors are APSA, CBG, Republic Bank, Star Oil, Bauer Rock, GCB, and Serene Insurance. The silver sponsor is UMB Bank, Fidelity Bank, Bank of Africa, Omni Basic Bank, ADB, Bost Energies, GRA SNIT, X Natural Mineral Water. Bronze sponsors are EcoBank, NIB PLC, NutriFoods Ghana. There's also Casa Precon. There's Imexco Ghana. There's Virtual Security Africa. And the media partners, Joy FM, Joy News, and Metro TV. And then let me also bring you an update on this. The Ghana Exim Bank is 10 years old. The bank is hosting international conference on the theme, A Decade of Enabling Export Trade and Industrial Transformation, Resetting Exim for the Next Frontier. So starting from today, 25th, and ending tomorrow, 26th, at the Kempinski Gold Coast City Hotel, Accra, at 8 a.m. each day, the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, will perform the official opening of the conference. The conference will bring together captains of industry, thought leaders, and decision-making in the global development finance ecosystem to deliberate on emerging issues in the development finance space. The conference host is Honorable Sylvester Edina Mensah, Chief Executive of Ghana Exim Bank, and the media partners are Daily Graphic Media General, City FM Radio Go, Channel 1 TV Multimedia, and Metro Television. The knowledge partners are IFC and SME Finance. Now, okay, this. All right, Uncle C, let me bring you in.
Well, I mean, I like to start with the words of my brother and friend in the studio. I want to use his words to start my contribution.
Okay.
You know, in his closing statement, he said something very profound. He said that President Mahama means well. And that his problem is that he doesn't know whether all his ministers are in tune with the president. This is remarkable. I mean, for a permanent opposition leader, one who actually aspired to become presidential candidate of his party and so on, to say that the sitting president means well, that's a huge statement, you know. And does not even condemn his ministers. Says he's not sure whether his ministers are in tune with the president. This is a very huge statement, you know. So that's where I like to start from. The other statement of note is that, soul sourcing is not a crime. There's nothing wrong with soul sourcing. It's not a crime. In fact, our laws allow soul sourcing. And I'm not the one saying it. It's my brother here who said that. That it's not a crime. It's allowed. Our laws allow it. It is legal and so on. He said it, not me. You understand? Now, his only problem is that whilst the NDC was in opposition, or President John Dramani Mahama was in opposition, he used soul sourcing against the NPP government. That's the only problem. But then, I listened to my brother again very carefully, and he read portions of the manifesto, which he insists used soul sourcing against his party in the campaign for the 2024 elections. And what those sections in the manifesto said was abuse of soul sourcing. Clear. These are not my words. I'm not the one saying this. He's saying that. That the manifestos actually condemned the abuse of soul sourcing, not soul sourcing. So this is where we are. Now, interestingly, we are told that about 40%.
44%.
44%, we're told.
44.
44%.
44%.
44.
Let's be specific. 44%. Since you are being specific with my words, be specific with the numbers I said. 44% is very important.
No problem.
No, that's fine. I mean, you are being specific with my words, so be specific with the numbers too.
I will even raise the figure.
No, don't. Be 44. Just 44. It's very important.
44%.
Yes.
Fantastic. If you want, let's make it 44.
No. Be specific. You are being specific with my words, so it's okay. Be specific with my words. 44%.
Okay.
Which translates to 176 contracts.
Okay, so 44% of the contracts under the Big Push project.
Yes.
But my brother, let's do a small exercise. Which are the projects? Which are the projects? They include Swami Interchange. I lie?
Yes.
If I lie, just tell me that I lie. Includes Swami Interchange.
Yes.
Includes the redoing of the Akratama motorway. If I lie, tell me, then I will stop. So if you look at the projects that my brother and friend is talking about, at least some of the most important contracts were awarded in the NPP era.
Which was being criticized. 23, let me clarify for 23 contracts out of the 176, which the NDC criticized that were sole source, is part of this 176. So you can take out 23 from the 76. So
but you disagreed when the NDC was criticizing this. You disagreed with the NDC.
I disagreed that what? No, I'm just saying that they criticized it and they are in and they've done 153 more. So why criticize it if you know you're going to do 153 more? So that's the point we are discussing.
Masa, I know what we are discussing.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that 23 of the contracts we are criticizing, how they were awarded by your government. In fact, when the NDC criticized the award of those 23 contracts, you said the NDC was wrong.
Nobody said they were wrong.
They are the one right.
No, of course, because sole sourcing is not against the law. You see, the issue
So
is
they
that
were
don't
not right.
demonize. But no, because
So
you are
were they
sidetracking.
right or they were wrong?
What was right? There's nothing wrong with sole sourcing. The MPP did not demonize sole sourcing. Listen, the Nanato didn't stand in Sona in 2 occasions and demonize sole sourcing. It was President Mahama who did that. And if you demonize 23 and you've done 153, How do you justify it? How do you juxtapose those two conversations? You demonize 23, but you come and do 153.
Master, perhaps, and from all that you're saying, it is clear that you understand sole sourcing and the laws governing sole sourcing better than I do. And that is why I'm dwelling on your words.
I agree. You can dwell on my words, but you need to also juxtapose the two conversations.
So please, allow me to make...
Please go ahead.
You understand? These interjections...
Oh, no, I'm not. Sorry, I won't interject.
Especially when I'm so weak and you are so strong.
Can you say that? Uncle Kwesi, stop that.
But you have all the facts. So please, I beg you, allow me to say what I want to say. You understand? Because you are so strong. So you are saying that 23 of those contracts were awarded by you, sole sourcing. Master.
Yes.
And you have said that sole sourcing does not break the law. It is normal.
Yes.
It's lawful. You are saying that. So I started listing the contracts which you awarded, and so now the biggest contracts. You understand? The biggest contracts. Swami Interchange, the redoing of Accra Tema motorway, and so on. You did it. You awarded it on sole contract. So when you were in power, you thought there was nothing wrong with it. Today you are not in power, there's something wrong with it.
I'm not saying there's something wrong with it.
Oh, so there's nothing wrong with it.
You see, you're not, that is why you're not averting. No, because you're not averting the conversation. You see, you listen to me attentively because you've been able to quote a few things and a lot of things I've said. The point I'm making is that do not condemn, demonize something in opposition, come into power and do 3 times what you demonized.
Even if it is right.
So why did you say it was wrong? Why did you say it was wrong?
Me?
No, why did the NDC say it was wrong?
I fight with NDC.
No, but you are defending it.
No.
So what are you defending?
No, sir. I'm only testing
that
for logical and factual consistency. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. I'm not taking a position. I'm just testing for factual and logical consistency.
Okay.
So you said that this award of contracts on the basis of sole sourcing was lawful. There was nothing wrong with it, and so on. Be consistent.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, the consistency is not on the side of the NDC, though.
No, but you
I'm consistent. I have nothing wrong with it. But the NDC, so the conversation I am having today is that somebody put it in their manifesto. Uncle Kwesi, that's why I quoted the manifesto.
Yes, sir.
But you said abuse. If somebody has done 23 and you come and done 153, you know you've abused the process, right?
Of a good thing.
Of 1 year. Yes, but it was a good thing when you said it wasn't. No, but the NDC said it wasn't.
23 of a good thing.
Yes. And somebody has, and when it was being done, they said it was bad. No, they said it was an abuse. No, but they said it was an abuse.
Why are you complaining?
Uncle, see, did you mention abuse of the process? You mentioned it, right? Abuse of process.
What you read?
Yes, in their manifesto. Abuse of process.
Yes.
So they thought 23 was abuse of process.
Yes. And you disagreed with them?
No, it's not my manifesto. That's their manifesto. They disagree with me. I don't disagree with them.
Oh, so
they are saying
that it was abuse of process.
No, I don't think it's an abuse.
So
I have done 23. No. I have done 23.
Yes.
They are saying that the 23. No, I don't think so because I've done 23.
Fantastic.
No, but hold on, Uncle Kwesi. The NDC are saying that 23 is an abuse of process.
Yes.
They have come and they've done 153.
Yes.
Which one is abuse?
Okay. But you disagreed with the NDC that the 23 that you had done was abuse of process.
Was not abuse. No. Was not an abuse. How was that an abuse?
You disagreed with them.
That what?
That 23 out of the 100 and something.
No, Uncle, see, let's put this in this
Why
perspective.
Do you make
you are just saying that you want to do perspective and the words, the beautiful words that you use, right? The perspective of this is that there is a government in place today that was in opposition 2 years ago.
Yes.
They bastardized and demonized something. When somebody has done 23 of it, today there's 176 sole source contract on the table. The 176, 23 of it is from the previous administration.
Fantastic.
No problem.
Yeah.
The MPP government did not ask the NDC to do politics with sole sourcing.
Yes.
Nanado did not tell John Mahama, His Excellency John Mahama, that when he does his sonar On 2 occasions, he should hammer on sole sourcing being a thing of the past.
Fantastic.
He wants to minimize it. His words, the president's words is that I will minimize sole sourcing.
Yes.
Is 153 a minimization of 23? Is it? Since you are being impartial.
So is that your problem?
Yes, that's my problem. When somebody says one thing and does the other, that's my problem.
Master, should I continue?
Yes, please.
And say what? He has said everything.
No, but you are defending, so defend it through.
Oh,
or you can't defend it. So back me on the call that politicians, when opposition, should say what they can do when they come into power. Back me on that call. No, but back me on that call, Uncle. See, at least help me.
Has been a very difficult.
At least help me, Uncle. See, help me on this conversation. Let's join hands, Uncle. Let's join hands and back me on that for Ghanaians. That when in opposition, do not say things you would rather do more when you come into power. Let's join hands on that.
Let me ring the bell. Let's take a break.
Listen.
I beg, let's take. No, we have to go now.
I beg you.
Uncles, we have to go.
Do you realize
we have to take a break?
The kind of punishment you have inflicted upon
No, there's no punishment. Uncle, stop that. Stop that issue.
This is the most difficult conversation I've had on this platform.
Okay. Let's take a break. I'm sure by the time we come back, the conversation will be softer. You're watching good. You're watching Good Morning. Please don't go anywhere.
Start your kids' day the right way, filled with confidence to take on any challenge. Pepsodent Kids contains the right amount of fluoride and sugar acid protection to care for their developing gums and teeth. Grab either orange or strawberry so they brush with the sweet flavor they love morning and evening. Pepsodent Kids, giving your children a bright smile for a brighter future.
Whether you're a wholesaler, retailer, or consumer, MNC Logistics and Trading is your trusted partner in minerals and food commodities trading. Experience the difference with MNC Logistics and Trading for your commodities trading. We operate a well-equipped laboratory that smelts and assays gold to ensure transparent, credible, and reliable minerals transactions. Our general food commodity market deals with imports and exports of food products such as rice, sugar, and grains. We pride ourselves on delivering products that meet the highest standards of quality and taste. With our expertise in international trading and logistics, we bridge customers far and wide. Locate us at number 4 Neosai Interfo Avenue, East Legon, Accra. Call us on 030-299-8246 or visit our website www.mnclogisticsandtrading.com. MNC Logistics and Trading, hub of confidence.
Yes, next. Hey, Nadia Benson,
Me didn't tum. Mr. Friendly Calico, just call me cockroach. Now, Mr. Friendly once now. Hey, that's on you. Improve car. Yeah. Captain, mosquito, double the accent. Me did it, sasso spray. Mr. Friendly sasso quell. Yeah, go to my sasso.
Tum preko.
When nations rise, it begins with bold conversations. When economies grow, it is driven by partnership. This April, Ghana's business and policy leaders converge at the Pro Business Forum 2026, the nation's premier platform for investment, enterprise, and economic transformation. With special guest of honor, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, joining captains of industry, financial institutions, investors, and entrepreneurs.
The Pro Business Forum is more than just an event. It is a call to action. And so let us work together to build a Ghana that is competitive, productive, and inclusive, and a Ghana that creates opportunities for all.
Come, let's engage in high-level dialogue, explore industry exhibitions, build powerful networks, and unlock real opportunities from finance and insurance to manufacturing, agribusiness, SMEs, and innovation. This is where it all happens. From the 3rd to the 5th of April 2026 at the Kwewu Convention Center in Praeso Hills. Go to www.kwewubusinessforum.com and register now. To register for exhibitions, call 059 555 5885 or 059 555 5995. Kwewu Business Forum. Connect, promote, grow.
Okay, so you're watching Good Morning Ghana. Sorry, Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. My name is Aldo Moro, and I'm here with Mr. Kojo Nsafo-Apoku, who is the Executive Director of InStep and also a member of the MPP's communications team. Also here with us is Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is a former managing editor of the Insight newspaper. Well, Kwesi, yes, you were actually on the floor, but I had to take a break.
Yeah,
so.
I was only complaining
Yes.
that you have really punished me this.
Oh, we're so sorry.
Uncle Kwesi, stop that. You are not punished.
It was difficult conversations.
Yeah, can you be
This
punished?
has been one of the most difficult conversations I've had on this platform.
Why? Why is it difficult?
You didn't see the difficulty.
All I'm saying is that let's hold hands.
But anyway, let's
move. Let's hold hands and move forward. Moro, you know, let me say something quickly.
Yes.
And this is the point that I wanted us to discuss. You see, I have advocated for fuel prices not to be used as politics.
Yeah.
Because you, the politician, don't control the elements of fuel price.
Right.
Electricity, let's not use it as politics because you don't control the elements of what the electricity price becomes. I think one of the things that gradually now it has become that we should stop using procurement practices as politics because both parties, the MPP and the NDC, has basically come to show that there are agencies when they come into power, and they will always use the agency as a conduit to do selective and sole sourcing. So we should stop it. So from going forward, I honestly don't want the NDC or the MPP to use that as politics because if somebody has done 153 today, right? The next Dr. Baumia government that comes in on the 7th of January 2029 will probably do 200. I don't know because of the agency of the day, right? So I don't want to sit here and say that we are bastardizing. If it wasn't for the insistence of President Mahama in 2 occasions in his Sona speech and in their manifesto that they keep hammering sole sourcing and demonizing, this will not be a topic.
Okay, so let me read this to you from Sami Jemfi.
Oh, Sami is watching?
Who is a chief executive
Sami is watching?
of Good. He watches the show every day.
Oh, interesting.
He doesn't
Okay,
miss
read his
it.
message and
Yes.
let's hear what he has to say.
Now, this is the thing. He says the deplorable state of our roads is one of the biggest national security threats we face as a country. Bad roads have claimed many lives through fatal road accidents, armed robbery, etc. I am reliably informed that the surveying, designing, and costing of big push road projects alone took the Ministry of Roads about 7 months to complete. Resorting to the national competitive tendering process for the award of these critical road projects would have taken another couple of months before the projects could even commence. This could have delayed the completion of most of the projects beyond 2028. Competitive tendering processes have in some cases lasted for months. A typical example is a competitive tendering process for the road toll project that has not still been completed in about a year due to its complexities. Section 40 of the Public Procurement Law provides for single source procurement method on grounds of urgency, among others, subject to the approval of the Public Procurement Authority. Thus, sole sourcing is lawful. The unjustified use and abuse of sole sourcing is what President Mahama and the NDC have always condemned. There is not a scintilla of evidence in the Fourth Estate publication that shows that the use of sole sourcing was unjustified or that there were any breaches of the law or abuse of the process. Neither was any evidence of the cost of the projects being inflated, adduced by the Fourth Estate. In opposition, the NDC never said sole sourcing was a sin or unlawful. We only preached against the unjustified use and abuse of sole sourcing in the world of government projects, some of which were established by the Auditor General to be inflated. In fact, some of us cited all the findings of the Auditor General to show that sole source cocoa road projects, some of which were awarded to Bawumia's brother, were inflated. In the case of the Big Push and projects, all projects that were awarded through sole sourcing received prior PPA approval, as same was justified on grounds of urgency. Value for money audits were conducted. The contracts were not awarded to a select few, but rather carefully selected multiple competent and experienced contractors with demonstrable capacity to complete the works on time. None of the contracts have been established to be inflated. The urgency of the projects cannot be denied, and like all road projects, payments are based on actual work done, certified by independent consultants. As a matter of fact, 23 out of 84 Big Push projects, such as Swami Interchange of Fankor, Insawa Medenta, Dodowa, etc., are inherited road projects that were all awarded by the previous MP government through sole sourcing with no dedicated funding. This government has simply novated the projects, maintained the contract and provided for funding for them under the Big Push policy. The 23 road projects were not re-awarded. Yet the Fourth Estate had mischievously added all these projects to their list of sole source contracts awarded by this government. Clearly, they could have done a better job. So what is the point really? The NDC spoke against sole sourcing in the past. True. So every resort by the NDC to sole sourcing government must be condemned? Is that a logic being canvassed by the Fourth Estate and Geopolitical?
Okay, so let's frame that. You know that beautiful message Sami Jemfi have sent?
Yes.
Please, let's cut it and frame it and put it on the wall.
Okay.
Because you know what? There is a lot of relativity in the conversation that he's having. He's on the seat now, right? And I'm surprised he didn't clarify the 834,000 for the,
well, I'm sure he said
the 85. Please, Sami, please clarify that. The 800, oh, sorry?
You know, he's still a national communications officer.
So he signed that as it, but it pertains to him. Since Sami is watching, he should clarify that. The 834,000 Ghana cedis for the 85-inch TV, was it for one TV or was it for multiple TVs?
Oh, it cannot be for one TV.
Yeah, but on the document that is public, it says there's no quantities. There's no quantity. Bro, Sami is watching. Let Sami help us clarify. He sent a message. I'm sure you clarify it right now. I'm saying that let's cut this Sami message and put it on the wall. Do you know why? Because now that he is in power, he has the facts and he's telling us this. He was in opposition. Somebody was in power. The person told him this. He didn't believe it and he made those utterances. He should wait.
Okay.
When we come in January 7th, 2029, then we will look through the contracts that he's awarded and tell him whether they are justified or they are not inflated. Let's wait. But let's cut this for now. Let's frame this and put it on the wall.
Okay. JC Buakun is a political marketing expert. What is factual and politically consistent? You see why I always disagree with Uncle Kwesi. For the record, I'm watching the show live and on this same platform with Randy Abbey as a host of Good Morning Ghana on countless occasions where Uncle Kwesi constantly argued that the use of sole sourcing and restricted tendering undermines the Public Procurement Act. A few years ago, he reacted to the various procurement-related controversies such as this $1.7 billion sole source contract involving the Ministry of Finance. Again, in 2025, my uncle reacted to claims.
He's lying. All the things he's attributing to me are false. Never discuss them. You should stop doing this. Just sit in your office and just... It's not true.
All right. Alhaji Hamza from Pig Farm says, good morning, my brother. MPP as a political party, what they're doing is that they could... MPP as a political party is doing all that they can to establish false allegations against this government. They are not happy because there have not been a single scandal against any appointee in this government, and for that matter, they are trying very hard to get one. I have listened to Geopolitical, and the question I want to ask him is that have they been able to establish any wrongdoing? So because of this, we should vote for Bawumia. Is that what he's telling us? They should give us a break. We have a country to govern. Andrew Ejapa Mesa, former MP for Second, he sends this message. Now he says, the crux of the matter is, as far as I'm concerned, is that the NDC condemned MPP for using single source procurement for the execution of some urgent and necessary works. They described it as a means of stealing from the public purse and as a consequence corrupt. They proceeded to promise in their reset manifesto that when elected into office, single source procurement will be a thing of the past. They will amend the law to reflect that. The people of Ghana believe the NDC and voted massively against the MPP. The president re-echoed this in two SONA. In the second SONA, that single source will be a thing of the past. To turn around today to embark on the same processes that they described as a conduit for corruption under the guise of agency is nothing short of not only betraying the trust of the people, but also disingenuous. Now, if the framers of the new law, if the framers of the law intended for every government to finish all projects started within the tenure, they need to go through competitive tender process, as the norm would not have been included in the law. Let no one throw dust in our eyes. 179 single source contracts in the logic of the NDC is nothing short of corruption. This is not what the NDC promised Ghanaians. Now, Duke Anyimedu says, good morning. Is Uncle Kesi saying that he never attacked sole sourcing under the MPP? He wants to know. Professor Ashikwe from Asylum Down says, Kojo is one of my favorites. Now, when in the course of the show, he became vehemently restless and vociferous, introducing the big push topic over and over again, overlapping other very important topics, I was thinking that there was going to be some serious revelations over some corruption dealings. Moro, Ashok Small is much ado about nothing. Remind him that comparing numbers marks a wicked and deliberate attempt to trivialize the big push. Big push is nothing close to the concerts that have happened in the past. This is a big deal. I like the fact that he praises JM. Interesting times. That's from Ashikwe. Tafai Namrahan says, good morning, Moro and your guest. How do Ghanaians don't care about the MPP-MT demands? They are only interested in seeing their bad roads being fixed. How do whether the contracts were awarded through sole source or open tendering, Ghanaians are happy to see their roads being taken care of by a responsible government. Mystic Wonder Avuko inside in Sawama Joji says, Assalamu alaikum, brother. For now, for how long this mini micro minority continue to organize needless, fruitless press conferences? We need a credible opposition party that will not be opposing everything for opposing sake, but rather put the government on its toes, provide alternatives and spare our ears with this cacophony. Never again to this nepotistic nation wreckers. Samuel Brian Boabing says that, Moro, I have decided not to repeat the conduct of members of the NDC towards President Akufo-Addo. Conduct I found deeply uncomfortable and wholly condemnable for anyone who occupies the highest office of the land. This is why I have chosen to slow down on many fronts. Yet the hypocrisy of some enablers of President Mahama makes restraint difficult. Now, when Nana Akufo-Addo first championed reparations for Africa, the United Nations, and condemned the transatlantic slave trade, he was vilified and mocked at home by the NDC and some members of the government WhatsApp group. Today, those same voices celebrate President Mahama for advancing a position they once ridiculed. Is it because it was Nana Akufo-Addo then? That is not principle. This is convenience. I vividly remember one of the former friend of brother in government writing on this timeline, after all the IMF, COVID-19, gold, oil, cocoa, timber, bauxite, etc., money stolen, you, President Akufo-Addo, still want reparation money to steal? As Hamlet might lament, frailty, thy name is, but here it's not frailty, it is inconsistency. Principles, where art thou? Samuel Brian Boabin sent that message. Duke Anyimedu is back. He says, in fact, President Mohammed's second sauna was just a month ago. While he spoke and touted that sole sourcing won't happen under this government, it had already happened. What sort of leadership is he serving Ghana? Please ask Kwesi if he's comfortable with this. Now, Prince Henry, who is Prince, you said you're aspiring for the Eastern Regional NDC Communications Office or something like that. Anyway, I can only wish you well. Prince Henry says the MPP is just a nation record simple. It's just a nation record simple. Same people used our money for needless national cathedral, and they still have the right to talk about it, to talk again now. The MPP that scammed God of building national cathedral for him and later turned the place into a crab hub, has the nerve to call the NDC government a scam. May God help keep the MPP in opposition for more than 32 years. Amen. That's come from Prince Henry from Koforidua. Now, Edie Mukhtari says, please ask. Now, Edie.
The amen. Was it from him or from you?
No, it's from him.
Okay.
Oh, no,
I just want to be sure.
say
I just want to be sure because you said it and said amen.
No,
so I was wondering whether amen was from
somebody's. Charlie.
Okay.
I'll only say amen if the message says you.
No, the way you said amen.
You for be rich and be made a running mate. Then I say amen. But the other one, you know. Kojo! Kojo!
Read the message.
Anyway, so Edie Mukhtari says that please ask Opoku whether he knows that his Ashanti Regional MPP chairman, Wuntumi, was awarded 20-kilometer Cocoa Road at a cost of £45 million, which wasn't executed during the MPP government. Is it pounds or dollars? It has to be in dollars. Secondly, another Cocoa Road contract awarded to Dr. Mahamir's direct blood brother, which he never executed. Was those contracts also sole sourced? Was those contracts sole sourced or was on competitive tendering? The MPP should stop searching for problems when there is none. The MP should sit down to reflect and strategically reorganize themselves and their party. Other than that, what they're doing currently is they are dwindling deep down and causing even more harm. Okay. Now,
on the 85-inch TV.
Which one is that?
Sammy, I asked. He's watching.
No,
I asked him.
He hasn't responded.
He hasn't responded.
Yes, he
okay.
hasn't. Yes. So Edward Kariwe, who's the General Agric Workers Union, says hello to everybody. Says he's enjoying the conversation. And then also, let me look at this. And then Martin AC as well, who's the former Minerals Commission boss. He said I say hello to all of you and that he's enjoying the conversation. Now, Kojo Chumbafu is back. He says, again, Kojo Poku brings us to Standogbe. Where was he when the MP justified Ken Ofori-Atta collecting loans on the balance sheet of Ghanaians and collecting percentages on the loans he collected? Did Ken Ofori-Atta not tell us in Parliament that his company had made over 150 million cedis in commissions on the loans he had collected on our books? Where was Kojo Poku then? Please, Ken Ofori-Atta is still at large trying to get citizenship from another country to escape accountability. Why aren't you talking about that, Kojo? Said, did Akufo-Addo not do politics with sole source in 2016? Why aren't you saying anything? Did Kojo Poku only emerge after 2016? Now, this one here, that Sani Saliu says, culture may be our heritage, but factors like people's tastes and preferences, dynamism to curb stasis and monotony, and the new era have helped to either shape or modify it to suit us. The Hausa hat, for instance, was originally made by hand, but now majority of them are sewn and they're beautiful. Let's encourage ourselves and go with the flow. Stealing ideas isn't bad at all, especially when they're improved upon. Alas, the discussion around sole sourcing championed by the fourth estate and the minority is much ado about nothing but an ugly cacophony that jars our ears. Good morning, Sandy Saliu sense that. Carlos from Odododio says, please remind the MP presidential candidate that if he's talking about bastardizing processes, he should reflect on what Nana Akufo-Addo said in 2016 before the elections, especially regarding the sole sourcing, and compare that to what they actually did while in government. What the NDC is saying is clear. Where sole sourcing is used, it must be justified and done properly, not for personal benefit. The concerns being raised are about conflict of interest and the inflation of contract values. However, in this case, there's no evidence of inflated contracts, nor is there any indication that a family member is connected to the contract. He should carefully examine the issue before speaking. At the moment, it appears he's speaking without a proper understanding of the matter. They are trying hard to find fault with this government, but have been unable to do so effectively. As a result, they jump on any allegation they hear without proper verification. This approach weakens their role as an opposition meant to hold the government accountable. It is quite disappointing, Carlos, and I say, God bless you. Now, this one here from Reverend Samuel J. of the PNC says, good morning, Moro, and your panel. Moro, concerning the way our ancestors were treated, if you have the opportunity to certain place in America where such brutality took place, I tell you, if you're not careful, you would hate the white forever. I am confident Africa will be able to achieve much from this initiative. Moro, touching the national issues as much as MP have the right to come out boldly, I will be very grateful if they take their time to sit back for some time and study situations very well. Their performance is so fresh in our minds. Have a nice day. Anyimedu is back. Duke, he says, please tell Kojo Chumbafu that Ken Ofori-Atta's data bank was making money through commissions from government borrowings right from the Rawlings, Kufuor, Mills, and Mahama 1 era. They didn't start making money on government borrowing under Akufo-Addo. Mansa Musa says, just a good morning to Kojo Poku and senior brother Kwesi Pratt from Mansa Musa based in London. Now, Tafan Amreha says, good morning, Moro, and your guests. How would you call Ghanaians don't care about the MP demands. They are only interested. Okay, I think I've read this already. And then let me end with this one finally before we go. So Moses Gbawe, I believe, he says that as a retired public sector auditor, I have worked with the Public Procurement Act for years. I'm surprised that after 23 years, we have not reviewed the act to close the loopholes that both governments have complained about when in opposition. The 2016 review did not address the flaws. The law still has loopholes even when using competitive tendering. For example, it is possible for one person with controlling shares in 3 or more different companies to tender, and one of those companies will win. It is even worse than sole sourcing. Even with competitive and restricted tendering processes, it's possible to tilt the processes in favor of a preferred tenderer. All right. Now, Musa Abatwa says that, from Musa Abatwa in Asawasi says, Barakada Salah, Mr. Kojo Poku is sounding like more Catholic than the Pope. It's quite disappointing to see MPP are sounding like confused opposition. If they think there's breach in sole sourcing, they should go to court and make vuvuzela noise. Opposition demands responsibility and solutions, not just rhetoric. Thankfully, the facts regarding the ongoing road contracts have now been laid there for Ghanaians to assess it themselves. All right, I guess that would have to leave it here because our time is up. And it says that Andrew Mensah is back. It says, tell Kojo Chumbafu that the reason that Ghanaians voted against the MP is because they were unhappy with some of the decisions of the government. Fair game. NPP is not in government, and as such, you cannot use as a measure. The issue is what the NDC promised and what they're delivering. Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for your time. Our time is up. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I had to bring our viewers in. Sorry, Kojo. I'm so sorry.
Your world, your stories, your moment.
Welcome to Metro TV.
From breaking news to uncovering the facts of the story. Breathtaking events, mouth-watering trends, and unstoppable entertainment. All in one place.